What's good, party people? This is According to Woods, and I have the honor and privilege of talking to a shining star out of the Scottish pro wrestling scene. She's the one, she's the only, Rayhne. Rayhne, what's going on?
Hello, hello. That was very professional, by the way. I was enjoying that little intro. That was like so nice.
Well, only the best for you, mademoiselle. Obviously, you're kind of tearing up the Scottish wrestling scene. And that's the thing. It's just like, here's the funny thing. At least for me, during the whole pandemic and staying at home and everything like that, if somebody comes across my Instagram feed or Facebook feed or Twitter feed or on my good friends, the dudes at Ringside Podcast, and they look interesting, chances are I'm going into the DMs as well. And shout out to the dudes at Ringside Podcast with Metal Geek and Joe Panther Jr. They're amazing. Check them out on all their social medias. But like, you're one of those where like I was like, who the fuck is she? But rather than just go like, who the fuck is she? Let me get the DM. And you were so
Yeah.
kind, and you're like, my damn work schedule's all weird and whatever. And you, and just to show how, punctual you are, you got back to me the day that you said you'll get back to me. I thought, like, that was like, oh, I'm washing my hair or whatever. I've got work,
Yeah.
right? And you got back to me, and we set this up, and here we are. So thank you for that.
Exactly. No, that's what I expect back. You know, it's like one of the biggest arguments in wrestling is when you message somebody and they'll never reply to you. And we do understand it in the way of like, if somebody's messaging you, chances are hundreds of people are. But it's just like, just tell me no.
Yeah,
It's the easiest thing. Don't give me excuses. If you want me, you want me. That's fine. If you don't, you don't. Like that's how
yeah.
easy it is.
Yeah, yanking the proverbial chain or dangling the carrot and what have you, all of those euphemisms, and you can just be
Yeah.
like, maybe not right now, right? And how
Yeah.
many, it's I kind of experienced it. I grew up kind of a fat kid, right?
Okay.
And no dates, whatever. I would get I wish my boyfriend were like you, not you, but like
Yeah.
you, right? And then I dropped from like I don't know how it works out in terms of the conversion, but like 240 to 165 in terms of pounds, not the money pounds, but actual unfat
Yeah.
fuck myself, right? So with that all being said, like all of my friends were like wanted to be more than friends, and that was pretty traumatic because like I moved around a whole ton, and like friendship was sacred to me. So if you're my friend, and then now you want to be something more than friends, I'm all like, I'm gonna lose my fucking friends, right? And
Yep.
that's it. Those little tropes, when you're yanking the chain, it's just like there's so much time and so much like you could go on to the next thing, and they can go on to the next thing, but kind of like having you in the proverbial waiting pattern, the holding pattern, the bullpen, if you will, kind of fucking sucks, man.
Yep. Entirely. That's it. I'll shout out to my best friend Alan. He's gonna hate to say this, but he's exactly the one that kicked it off for me. Where I was like, um, you're just my friend, and like I don't see the signs or anything. And then it was like, no, actually, I've like liked you for this whole time, and I'm like, I thought we were just friends. So, and then you just feel horrible as well because you're like, I've just been a nice person. That's all. Like I've just been me, and I can't help that. But like now I lose out on a friend because that it's horrible. It's absolutely
Yeah.
horrible.
But I mean, it's kind of crazy. If you've ever been turned down or what have you in a previous life, it almost kind of prepares you for a pro wrestling, MMA, movie industry. Hell, even getting a job. You get a fucking job at a
Exactly.
fucking convenience store and whatever, and they're like, "No, we don't like your look because you have purple hair."
Yeah.
Piss off. Like what my fucking. I feel great in my fucking purple hair.
Exactly.
You're a fucking plonker. What the fuck? You know? Like, I don't know. I don't know. And shout out to Alan. That's not Alan Five Angels of AEW, is it?
No, no,
Okay.
definitely not.
Okay. Ah. Well, for the purpose of this podcast, in my mind, it is Alan Five Angels of the Dark Order in AEW. That's it. That's it.
Okay.
Apparently, that went over on you pretty well. So we go over. We go over. No jobbing out at all. But no, speaking of all this and jobbing and all this stuff, we're using insider terms in pro wrestling. Oh shit,
Oh,
mom!
the
Yes, what's
speak of
going
the
on?
devil.
Yes, dudes at Ringside Podcast. We both put you over. So fuck yes. Those are good brothers right there. I love those guys. They're amazing and do great work. But how did you get into pro wrestling?
Oh well, the dudes will especially know this. So I've got a proper like X Factor sob story for my
Wait,
backstory
X
here.
Factor? Are you talking about Albert, Test, and Xbox, or just
No, no, no,
Incredible?
no, no.
Just
I
Incredible.
mean, just,
Are we getting
it's
Xbox
just
Heat?
oh, no, God no, God no. No, I've just got a proper like sob story
Okay.
for my backstory. Um, I like most people, I only got into wrestling because my big brother watched it, and my family kind of watched it, but it wasn't like weekly or sort of thing. But the first pay per view I watched was like Night of Champions 2006, I think. And actually stayed up for that one, and then we kind of just started to watch it on Sky, where it was like every Saturday. Here's the Raw highlights, um, and it was so then it wasn't until my 19th birthday, so I decided to start training. Um, Unfortunately, for my 19th birthday, um, it was my grand's funeral. So we had to go up to Aberdeen to go to her funeral. But one of the wrestlers that I had been watching for like the past year just happens to walk past us when we're outside the place for dinner. And my mum talks to him and oh, she'll never let me live that down, like ever. Um, because she didn't know who he was, and we were sitting googling it in the restaurant, and I'm like, it's that guy with the hairband and the pleats. It was Ashbin Faith, by the way. Shout out to him. And that's what I was like. Right, I'm definitely when I get back down there, I'm gonna learn. I'm gonna do it. That's a sign. Um, so we get back home, everything, and then it turns out my dad has cancer and it's terminal. So that was from like October to February, and then he passed in February. And one of his belongings he had were like these big pair of cowboy boots that we're never ever going to use. But one of the wrestlers in Glasgow, Jack Jester, it was something that he would use. So my mum, again, I don't know how she ends up talking to all these people, messaged him and was just like, "Do you want these cowboy boots? They're in your size, blah blah blah." So I had to go in and go to the training school, which was the GPWA school, drop off the boots. And I got there, and I think he just said to me, like, there's one space left for the induction that's starting on Sunday. Bearing in mind, I live in the middle of nowhere, so for me to get in there, I would have to pay a £40 taxi every Sunday morning to get to training, and then once training stopped, wait an hour and get the train home. But I did it. I did it every single weekend, and then that's basically how we finally got into that.
Oh my gosh, that's oh. And Alan Roque says, "Ola, ola, ola, rest in power to your loved ones." Yeah.
I
Oh my
appreciate
gosh,
it.
like you're, and I mean, I definitely sympathize with that. Like, very everything that you see of me, especially in the last decade or so, but especially the last 5 years of doing interviews and now
Yeah.
the last year of podcasting. My dad passed away on Christmas morning of a massive heart
Oh, that's
attack back in
horrible.
2010. All right. Oh, thank you. And then my mom passed away of a brain aneurysm 3 years later, December. She was found December 2nd, and then they declared her,
Yeah.
deceased on the 4th, right? So actually, my wife's birthday is tomorrow. Right
Mm,
after, from tomorrow, like, let's just get to maybe January 15th because my dad's so both of my parents' anniversary, death anniversary,
yeah.
right, have
Right,
you.
Nick. Yeah.
Then on January 9th is my dad's birthday, and then my sister's birthday is on the 14th. So, like, right after tomorrow, I just want to fucking hit the fast forward button
Yeah.
and get to,
Well, that's all right. Me and your wife can have a joint party because mine's is on the 12th. So
hey, happy early birthday. A Libra in it.
Yep, yeah.
Yeah, okay. So that's how we get along, right? That's you see, Rain, we're friends. I mean, that's it. I mean, I guess the term is good brother, but you obviously identify as female, so we're gonna go like us, good sister, too sweet me.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, yeah.
I
There we
can't
go.
do it. I'm the opposite. Like,
There you go. We did it. Hell yes. No, and then obviously condolences on your grand and your father's passing, but I kind of believe that that was a catalyst for you. Like you didn't think you were going to do this,
oh,
and it set your trajectory. And yes, you had this, this obstacle, right? Most people
hmm
call it hustling. I fucking hate that deal because like I grew up in Inglewood where all the hardcore rappers and whatever the fuck, and not as bad as Compton and Watts, but still,
yeah,
all right. And the thing about it is like hustlers and grinders or whatever. Those are you grind up drugs, right? Cocaine and meth and all that, whatever. And you hustle. That's like somebody's that you're gonna pick your pocket,
hmm
sell you illicit drugs, maybe sell you out for prostitution or whatever. So I fucking hate those euphemisms, right? But
that's
what you
fair.
did, what you did was there was some perseverance, right? You could have used your grand's, passing. You could have used your dad's eventual
Yeah,
cancer and passing as a catalyst to stop you from doing this thing. Or it's the thing that my brother watched, and I don't fucking really watch it. But you know who these people are, right?
yeah.
And you have this connection, and you're like, fuck it. Let's throw the cards in the air. Let's roll the dice, and I'm gonna bet on myself. And look what you are now.
Basically, yeah. And it's quite mad as well for the fact, like at that time I was just working, so like especially my age, we made like £3 an hour or something for working, um,
Whoa.
which for dollars is still not that much.
That's like maybe not even a hot dog worth of
Yeah,
money.
exactly.
That would be even
um,
less. Well, actually, £8. I think that's like $12. Yeah, so that might be like in and out for us Californians here.
yeah. Um, so because I was just working, I didn't go to the gym at that time. My only like athleticness was from doing cross country in high school. That was about it. So I did the first session, and the first session of cardio was like 3 laps around the building, um, about 150 squats, a wall sit, and like leg raises and stuff like that. So for someone that's like not really done anything, and then we had to do like rolls and cartwheels and stuff, I couldn't walk for like 3 days afterwards because a lot of people come into this going like, I'm fine, I've got training before, and I had nothing. And I went to a concert straight after, so I'm holding on to the barrier like, I want to go home. I can't stand here. This is horrible. Worst mistake I ever made.
Oh, I mean, what type of concert was it?
I say it was a concert, but it was like a charity thing, which was funny because half the trainers that were like at training were at that as well. So it was like a charity boxing thing, but they also had a wrestling match, but they also had music and stuff like that. And it was just, I don't know how I ended up at it, but I did. And it was good, but I regret going so much.
I know, because like, just think of any like, in MMA, there's that guy in the early '90s that it's a meme now, but he's like just bleed and whatever the
Yep.
fuck, right? I'm like you two guys at the damn bar, like, this fucking wrestler gal, you can't even walk. How the fuck
Yeah.
is she going to wrestle in the ring? Like, you know.
Yep. Exactly how it was.
Oh, and Alan says, "Cheers! Shout out to you, good sir." No, man, but that's it, And yes, you ran country, right? And it is something that involves stamina and your
Yeah.
legs or what have you. But wrestling calisthenics is something fucking different,
Oh,
right?
it's totally different. It's wild. Like, see as much as you can go in the gym and train. See, unless you're like in the ring, cause like you won't be the same. Like, I remember just coming back to training after all this. Now I thought I'd be stuffed because like I'd done some workouts, but like my room is tiny and that's all I have. Um, I went in and kind of surprised myself, and I was absolutely fine. But then when I got into like an actual match, I was just like, "This is horrible." I've got 15 minutes of this. Like, can I go nap? Like, please, can we just like do a nap spot? Because like I just need 2 minutes. But yeah, it's totally different. Like from when you're training, when you're in a training match, to when you're out. I think it's easier when you're out there, but you kind of think less at the same time. Like when you're in training or you're doing a training match, you're too busy thinking, right, I need to do this or I need to hit this and this is how this has to look. When you're out there, you're just too busy going like, right, there's people. Like that's all you're thinking. For me, anyway. Some people overthink, but that's just me,
Yeah.
really.
No, and here's the deal. Alan Roque says, in my opinion, grappling is the most demanding, 100%. And that's it. Oh, they're so sweet. Sharing this post at the dude at Ringside page because Rayhne and Woods are awesome. I'm sharing your shit on my page too. How about that? I'm just saying. I know, but yes, I mean, so I love, like I said, I love combat sports, and for me, pro wrestling is a combat sport, right?
Yeah.
When people were doing pro wrestling, well, it looked like a high level jiu-jitsu match now, but they were, Gotch and Hackenschmidt were doing that at the turn of the century, right? And selling out arenas,
Yep.
especially here in the States. That's why I love you folks out in the UK, because you're taught the history. Lancashire wrestling, Wigan, catch wrestling. Scotland had its own type of wrestling, right? Like, that's why you have the crest, right? The Scottish crest is because of fucking wrestling, right? Your team, kind of abided by a fucking crest and whatever,
Yeah.
and that you wrestled, but then some motherfuckers would sword fight, and then some, and that's just it. But here in the States, like, I'm wearing a Jack Johnson shirt, but that's the thing. We're taught like, oh, boxing was the thing, but if you really, wrestling predated boxing in terms of drawing its first $1 million gate, being on radio, being on TV, right? Because it was cheaper to produce wrestling than it was to do boxing, right? In boxing, we're kind of, this is what, the day after the, Fury Wilder fight and everything like that. So that same arena that they had, right? The UFC runs there. So same seating capacity, same seating setup, right? But I guarantee you, for that ringside seat for a UFC would probably be a couple $1,000.
Oh yeah.
Right?
Definitely.
Ringside seats last night in the same Las Vegas arena, I think it was either MGM or T-Mobile or whatever. It's like $250,000 with bottle service.
Oh, that's horrible.
Right? But it's because, we're fed this narrative because boxers have money, the boxing promoters have money and everything like that. It wasn't to like the Vince McMahon and what have you that you have this billionaire. Not to say like, here in the States, Bill Watts or, Eddie Graham in Florida, or over in the UK, the world is, the Crabtrees and World of Sport and what have you. But it was very much, we didn't get World of Sport here, right? In the States, I fucking love Johnny Saint. Oh my God. Like, I go to sleep some nights, like if I have like anxiety or whatever, and I put, Top of the World, the YouTube compilation of Johnny Saint or a wrestler's wrestler, Billy Robinson, and know that those things could happen in fucking MMA. You can really insecure a motherfucker if you're drunk at the bar. It takes some skill.
Oh yeah, but you could do it. Really. That's one of my favourite things, like right now, training at Future Shock with Sam Bailey and Lana Austin. One of the training sessions, one of the last ones I had before I had my like dental surgery, it was basically Sam just showing us like, right, this is how you would do it in wrestling. But if someone was to like piss you off or like anything like that, this is how you would do it, and you would feel like, okay, this is not too bad. Ow, joint breaking. This is horrible. So it's kind of cool. Like, you're not just like, learning how to fake it. You're actually legit learning holds and everything like that. Like, it could go across the board from like wrestling to any sort of like physical sport. even to acting as well, like in movies,
Yes.
stunt doubles and stuff like that basically do that as well. So it's kind of cool to see.
Yeah, no, 100%. I think, gosh, I can't. Tracy Brooks, right? She's Frankie Kazarian's wife, right?
Hmm.
Cass, right? In AEW now. Legend of, Impact Wrestling and Ring of Honor, respectively. But that's what she does. Like, he wrestles, and she's one of the top stunt women
Yep.
there. Nick Dolly Rivera Kalnok, who's like, even she's 29, but she was, fucking fighting, like doing MMA with like Shayna Baszler and
Yep.
Misha Tate and whatever. She just got into stunt work, and it's just like Frank Trigg, UFC Hall of Famer, former UFC champion. He's an actor. Tate Fletcher is in a bunch of like there's just, and that's we're kind of talking off air. There's never been more money. Like, I
Hmm.
mean, Stars has heels, Dark Side of the Ring, Netflix and the Undertaker New Day
Yep.
documentary.
Hmm.
They're throwing money like never before, right? Even the fact, like AEW here in the States, right? The last time that wrestling was on Turner Broadcasting on TNT and TBS respectively was WCW, and
Yep.
they fucking kicked them off. They're like AOL Time Warner was like, blah, right? Well, it take 20 some odd years after, and they love wrestling again,
Yep. I think
right?
it's like it's the same way of like cartoons, but with wrestling now it has to be very much like not PG, but can't be as twisted as it once was. But wrestling's always going to be hated. Like always, like there's so many people now, even now that people I talk to are just like, oh, I've not watched wrestling, or I watched that when I was younger. What are you watching it for? But it's like, but you still watched it at one point. You still liked it, and guaranteed if that came across like on TV, if you just happened to go to a show and see it, like you would still enjoy it. Sort of way. Obviously, everyone's got like who they want and who they like. Everyone's got that sort. But if you sit down at a family show, guaranteed you will literally find at least one match and one performer you will love with all your heart's content.
Yeah, no, Alan says it best. Only hating because they can't do it. Laugh my fucking ass off. No, 100%. And that's the weird stuff, right? Like, oh, I found out it was predetermined, or they used the
Yeah.
dreaded F word, right? Or fake, or what have you. Well, again, you try and run the ropes, and you
Yeah.
tell me
Oh
how fake
god.
it is, and
Not
that.
only just run the ropes as a woman, and not just a woman, right? I'm totally out myself here, right? But a woman with a larger chest, because I do not understand how these girls do it. Because every time I see, like, not hating on these women, but women that obviously are very small and they have like lovely gear and they don't have to be strapped in to like two sports bras and a bra. But when you're running the ropes, it rips the middle of your bra all the time. So the amount of times I've had to go buy, and they're not cheap either. It's like £10 for like a cheap one, and you're having to buy new ones constantly just to run the
Fuck.
ropes. Never mind do anything else.
Yeah. Not taking a flat back bump or a slam
Exactly.
or what have you. No, you know who I would often like Thea Trinidad. I guess she's Selena
Hmm.
Vega, right?
Yeah.
When she was in Impact Wrestling, right? She's all of like 4'8", right? Like just a teeny tiny little thing, and they had the six-sided ring. Like if you notice when she ran it, she just like barely grazed it, and then fucking shot, like she shot her own self off.
Yeah.
Yeah, like because she might be astute in some areas, right? And that's the thing. It's just like rough. Look at Enzo Amore, right? Like wasn't trained maybe properly, if he was
Hmm.
trained at all. What have you? He was a WWE Triple H pet project because he cut a promo on a YouTube video or whatever the fuck, and like
Yeah.
Trips is all like, oh, or as I call him, the heart attack kid. Maybe I can say that because I had
Yeah.
a family pass away of a heart attack. But that guy, you could read some of the, how many of your favorite people that he pretty much buried,
Yeah.
right?
Oh
Trips buried. He was terrorizing, to people's career,
yeah.
and like, yeah, it sucks when things happen or whatever, but also karma's a motherfucker. you
Hmm.
know, like I mean, Scott Steiner, fucking Scott Steiner didn't get over in the WWE because you jobbed him out. Like you jobbed out Booker T. Why did you have to fucking job out Sting?
Oh yeah,
No fucking reason. No fucking reason. You don't need it.
nah, that's kind of one of the reasons. Like, as much as I still love wrestling, I don't watch it enough anymore because there have been, and oh, this is going to be like, people might take this the wrong way, but I really hate people that go into the matches with the whole, um, oh well, I'm only hitting one thing, so I'm not getting over, blah blah blah. You can still, like, that's down to you. If you can't make anybody cheer or boo you without doing like a flashy move, that's completely down to you. Like, one of my first matches with Holiday, I think we went around the ring for 10 minutes.
Mm,
We didn't do anything. We
mm.
went around for 10 minutes. I think we actually wrestled for about 5. Um, but you know how Holiday is. Like, she looks like a big
Yes.
scary lady. I
Yes.
was the bad guy, and people were booing me when she's coming out crawling, like creepy face paint, and people were still bullying me because I had the bad attitude and that I was talking back to them. And it's like, it is literally that simple. Yes, it would be great if we were all that talented, like from the offset, and one day, like maybe myself, I'll get to that. But for right now, I can do what I can do. But that's not just moves, that's character, that's body language, that's like my appearance, everything I can do, I will do it. And it's, oh, I hate people that just have that really bad attitude.
Well, yeah, it's because it was probably perpetuated by them. And Alan says you may forget, but karma is a patient one. No, 100%. No, but they're kind of perpetuating. Like I was just having a friend. I was talking with a friend, and he may be in the pro wrestling like SoCal wrestling scene, right?
Mhm.
And he had maybe a disagreement with a promoter last night, and he goes, "Well, and he wanted to speak on it, and he's like, I
Mhm.
want to wait to get people to whatever." And I was like, "That's the thing. If you want to talk about things that are happening right now today, at the
Mhm.
moment, you got to do it now. We're
Yeah.
not gonna wait 3 weeks for you to fucking say what happened to a show with maybe 80 people in attendance,
Mhm.
right? Like that's just not gonna happen, and especially as uh, you know, as many entertainment options, right? If you want
Mhm.
just wrestling, there's New Japan, there's GCW, there's WWE, AEW, Impact Wrestling, Shine, Shimmer,
Yeah.
UK. You can go back and go to World of Sport. You can 80s wrestling, 70s wrestling, 50s wrestling.
Mhm.
You can get shit on Luthez, like all this stuff, right? And then that's just in the wrestling deal. Then there's MMA, Muay Thai, Jiu Jitsu. Everybody has a streaming service, right? Then
Yeah.
you got the
Mhm.
big dogs like Hulu's, the Netflix, the here in the States Peacock Network or WWE Network still to you guys. Like Sky Sports, whatever. There's so many fucking, tropes to kind of grab your attention in terms of content. You
Mhm.
can't go on a live and go, I'm waiting for people to come in, right?
Yeah.
Because one, maybe this is something that I borrowed from my short-lived radio career. You've got 3 seconds to grab people's attention, whether it be
Mhm.
something you say, a funny graphic that they put on the screen, or whatever the fuck. And I'm guilty of such, right? But you got 3 fucking seconds, and if you don't get them by 3 seconds, and you're trying to fucking figure out the technical whatever the fuck and
Mhm.
whatever, people are gonna tune out. Are people? I was like, bro, this is Southern California kind of post pandemic where people actually have to get the vax to go out to your fucking wrestling show. And there's
Mhm.
literally, from now to when you want to do it in 2 weeks, there's literally 20 shows.
Yeah.
And all of them have streams. And you want
My
to talk about a show that happened with like 80 people?
yeah.
Might not
My
happen.
my big thing, and this was before, even before COVID, and the way people will perceive me is like, I understand that I'm a nobody, right? I understand I'm bottom of the food chain. Like, I'm never trying to say I'm more than that. But one thing that really, really pisses me off, like, entirely, is like, if you're going to get into wrestling and you're going to promote a show, pay money for your posters.
Hmm.
Unless you are a graphic genius,
Yeah.
don't produce something that's on like Microsoft Paint,
Yeah.
because people will look at that and laugh. Like, that's worse than the carnival posters.
Yeah. No, 100%. And it's and is bravo, Miss Rain. You do you, 100%. No, but and especially like that graphic at the I mean, I total disclosure, right? That cool little intro, whatever. I got done on Fiverr from some dude in Indonesia,
Exactly. Yeah.
right? And it looks like as good as Joe Rogan, and and
Hmm.
that's the thing, if you want to in MMA, there's a lot of people that I know, right, that are like, they'll just get the cheapest, like neon, lime, yellow,
Yeah.
whatever, because it's the fucking cheapest thing there in the warehouse or whatever. Just
Hmm.
slap a logo or a thumbs up or whatever and expect people to pay $25, right?
Yeah.
And they might do it one time to support you the one fucking time.
Hmm.
But guess what? That fucking as soon as the fucking second hand whatever bin comes, they're throwing that some bitch in
Oh
it,
yeah.
and they're not buying another piece of merch because you had one fucking shot to kind of hook them. And guess what? They're not going to follow you on social media because you gave them a
Hmm.
lime green thumbs up shirt with sponsorships in the back, right? So
Yeah.
like, and that's the thing. Just like I said, there's never been more money in all of combat sports, right?
Hmm.
But is it all filtering to the fighters, the wrestlers, the jiu-jitsu people themselves?
Oh, definitely not. Like, I can't. I personally can't speak for like other sports. Um, I know in terms of me, my last show, um, through my choice, to be fair, my last show, I only got paid my travel, but that's because like I wanted to support the company. I've never done that before. I have always taken money, um, but there's one promotion that like I remember standing in the car park with the promoter, and he basically said, "Oh, I'm not going to pay you this time. I'll pay you next month." And I was just like, "What do you mean next month? I'm not here next month. I'm on a completely different show." And like, no matter what, it's like I've traveled up here to do the show, and I get paid for the show, and then like I have to pay to leave, regardless of like what my work situation is or anything like that. That is what you're paying for, and it's just like, nah, we're going on a night out, so like I'll pay you next month. I did, thankfully, I managed to get the money off him in the car park, and basically told me don't tell the guys. But I also know that same promoter didn't pay for half his guys. They
Oh.
basically bumped and took chair shots, took outside shot, everything. They were doing it for free. And while I do understand you do want to get on a show regardless, like, you can't. The way I have to see it is, you tap wood, you don't want anything to go wrong, but it could at the end of the day. So the
Hmm.
fact he's not even paying you like £10 to wrestle, like, just shows you how much respect he actually has for what you're doing for him,
Hmm.
for his product. Like, he needs you, not the other way around in that
Yes.
aspect.
No, 100%. Yeah, no, that's and it's funny because like, a narrative, right? Because a lot of people lambast like Ultimate Warrior for, fucking stiffing Vince. I'm not getting whatever and
Yeah.
so whatever. But or, Jeff Jarrett, in the Good Housekeeping match with China, right? But like the fact that that's a narrative spun to you and told to you by the promoter that is paying for
Yep.
whatever production that you're watching, right? That's spinning this narrative, right? Self-description of the Ultimate Warrior, and then he's in our Hall of Fame, and we miss him so dearly because he
Yep.
died and whatever. Like it's a weird one, right? And but that's the thing. You have to work. You get your money before
Hmm.
you whatever. I know people that tuck it away in their payoffs in their boot, and then fucking go to the ring,
Yep.
like because you can. In some instances, you do have to do it. You can't trust the guys and
Oh.
gals in the back because they might rib you, but also buy a round of drinks at the pub on your fucking payday if you get paid
Yep.
in cash. And that's the thing. Obviously, like we're kind of finding out with like Ric Flair. Everything that we loved about Ric Flair that made him all kind of, like eccentric, and all of these
Yep.
rappers, idolize him. where it's kind of predatory,
Yep.
right? And then not kind of, absolutely predatory. And then also finding out that the gal, the accuser, also, I think she's her and her husband at the time, or her significant other, sold like something like six figures worth of diamonds and extortion and all that. So there's no wins. Nobody wins. Nobody wins.
Nah. I've learnt that, see, especially over the past year. Like, the and you know, it's easy to say it, but the only person you can ever trust is yourself. Like, as much as you can have friends, as much as you can get on with everyone, at the end of the day, nobody has nobody has a clear conscience. Like, everybody will be or has been guilty of something, whether it's just like, you know, throwing you completely under the bus, or they just like personally don't like. There's nothing wrong with that, but you can't then say, you know, I'm a nice person and I do the right. No, like, everyone is in the wrong, and it's not in the most horrible way of Ric Flair, obviously, but there are a few that are like that. So at the end of the day, you can only trust yourself, and even if you've done wrong, like, if you make the steps to better yourself, that's better than nothing. But a lot of people just don't care because they get away with it.
No, 1,000%. And the good brother Gav Casanova says, Warrior, one of the all-time greats. I mean, if you dig him, kudos. I will never shit on anybody's personal picks of who they
Yeah,
think is,
exactly.
right? Like the AEW versus W. Watch them both, or don't watch them at
Yeah.
all. Like, don't, like, whatever. To me, I just saw Minoru Suzuki within the last month. Minoru Suzuki versus Jonathan Gresham, and I'm just like, GCW in my mind is just as good as WWE and fucking AEW, and that's not disrespecting any of those promotions because they all have talented workers. I think we're all kind of, you know, we all have friends that kind of work in some places. So we want our friends to fucking work, do well. We have our favorites, like fucking Nakamura. How the fuck are you gonna run Raw Underground and not have Nakamura and Shayna Baszler
Yeah, that's true.
literally fucking obliterate everyone? One. And then that was also the same night as Retribution. So why don't you get the badasses from Raw Underground, supposedly, and you put them in the other side of the fucking building for Retribution?
I'm so glad I don't watch it anymore. I'm so glad.
Good.
Like,
Good. Good. And then the Wu Train. That definitely got trained. And going back to Warrior, yes. Going back to Warrior, I just kind of have heat on him because of, if you can look in the YouTube machine, you know, the shit that he said about Bobby Heenan, right? When Bobby Heenan befell the throat cancer and was like, "Oh, you're a fucking scummy fucker." Like, I'm sorry, Bobby Heenan and Mean Gene Oakland are the sounds of my fucking childhood, along with Sean Mooney, Jesse Ventura, and litany of others, right? Even Vince Piper, great commentators, right? Todd Pettengill. And that's just like the WWE side. We're not talking about the greatness of Gordon Soley and Tony Schiavone and Chris Cruz, and even Mark Madden did a fucking decent enough job in the dying days of WCW. Mike Tenay, right? So like, and that's why, like, as an interviewer podcaster, I'm all like, people are like, you do so great. And I was like, I know what great looks like.
yeah.
And if they're still alive, they have a podcast. Jim Ross, Arn Anderson, Stone Cold Steve Austin, fucking Bruce Pritchard, Joe Rogan. Like, no, I'm not. I'm working my way up, but I feel like a rat in a sinking ship. Like, they're great. I love what they do.
Yeah. But at the end of the day, you're always going to be like your worst critic at the end of the day as well. Like, everyone starts from somewhere, and do you know what? They have great podcasts, but they also have millions of dollars for doing nothing. So they can start with the great technology and the great setup and the studios and stuff like that. So what? Like, doesn't mean it's filled with great content. It's just the name that they're coming after, not who's on it, not what they're saying.
Okay, now and Gab says, "Yeah, preach." No, but okay. So when I'm talking about the Conrad Thompson podcast, I mean, in total disclosure, I've been on Eric Bischoff's After 83 Weeks podcast twice at this point, and that's an honor. But it's not because I know Bischoff; it's because the good brother Steve Kaufman runs all of the Conrad Thompson podcast YouTube pages. All right,
Yeah.
I'm not speaking out of school. He posted it on his Twitter timeline and what have you. Presented in 4:3 ratio. I'm getting it right, but yeah, it's like they do put out phenomenal content.
Yeah,
Was
I'm not
Bruce?
saying. Yeah, I'm
Yeah,
not saying they don't,
yeah,
but with them, it's like because they've made that name, it's easier. Like Paige, for example, think of her streaming.
yes,
Like it's came out that she's made like 500,000
yes,
from
on
streaming,
Twitch, on
but it's just
Twitch.
like, but would you have had that if you started streaming before you went to WWE? Like, no, you wouldn't have.
Or The Rock is making a fucking thing on your
Yeah, like
family,
by
or
all means, take the opportunity. I'm not shitting on that in any
yeah,
means, but it's just like you have to understand. Like you don't feel like you're that good, because you see all these amazing people doing it, but they've got the platform to be that high. Whereas myself, like all the time, I think I'm not good enough and I'm too big and stuff like that. But you know what? There's mistakes that are in WWE matches that I wouldn't make. Not
yeah.
saying I don't make other mistakes, but there's simple things that you look at and go, okay, well, I know that's wrong. It's a matter of perspective, and as long as you're working hard and you're keeping going, like again, only opinion that matters is your own. You need to look out for yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. But and that's the cool thing. Like, if nothing else, right? I, I use Streamyard. I use Streamyard. I might
Mm-hmm.
have convinced Wrestling Chatter Channel with George Ramosa, who does a fabulous XPW, chronological fucking podcast. I might
Mm-hmm.
have convinced Steve Kaufman to bring all of the Conrad Thompson podcasts to StreamYard. That's what they're using. That's why the super chat. AEW does fucking StreamYard for their super chats and shit like that. So I'm not, well, I mean, I'm not too far off, and it wasn't me that started it. Shout out to the good brothers of the Keyboard Warriors MMA podcast. They were like, Woods, fucking you start a podcast. And I was like, I can't edit. And they're like, use StreamYard, and it's way easier. And here we go, almost 500 episodes later in about 22 months. And,
Yeah.
and getting to chat with amazing people such as yourself and really get your story, whether we talk about wrestling, whether we don't talk about wrestling at all. Like, and I'm not trying to
Yeah.
get a fucking clickbaity soundbite. Oh, Rayhne said this and whatever, and not getting you booked for shows. No, I want you to get booked everywhere. Actually, like I said, I saw you on Dudes at Ringside podcast, and that was a fabulous episode. You were so fun. They were so fun. And I'm like, fuck, I wonder what she'll do on my fucking platform, right? Like, total disclosure, man. Not the first, right? But, and it's this being able, like, I want other podcasts to reach out to you and go, fuck, she's so cool. Let's have her on, because that's, yes, it's kind of a negative connotation of exposure bucks, right? But like, if you have an hour or two to kick around,
Yeah.
do a
Like, well, that's the
podcast.
thing. Like, for people obviously listening or like people, trying to do it, they think, oh, this is cool, this is new. For me, it's like, if this is just my life, like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm just telling you my life, whether it's sad things you've gone through, whether it's exciting, whether it's just boring. That's just my life, and I don't see it in any way, sort of thing. Um, and in all honesty, all I do is work. So I don't have a life outside of anything.
Yeah,
So, if I can do anything, if I can try new things, like especially with being like neurodivergent, it takes a lot for me to do new things. And a lot of the time I would just sit there and go, nah, like even except like not that I was like this, but usually before, if somebody asked me to do something, I'd be like, yeah, sure. It would come to the time and I'd be like, no, I can't do it. I
yeah,
can't do it because my collar on my t-shirt is too tight, so I can't. Stupid things
stupid.
like
Yeah,
that. But now I'm just like, what's the point? Like, you've got to do stuff before you go. Like,
yeah. And the fact of the matter is, like, there's so many, if you want the nice and polishes in today's news and whatever the fuck, right?
yeah,
There's that has been the archetype of traditional media for eons. Whether
Yep.
they were doing it in newspaper, then they were book form, then newspaper, then smoke signal somewhere around there, and then fucking radio, and then TV, now internet, and what have you. Right? If people are watching or listening to a podcast,
Mm-hmm.
yes, you do want to have some production polish and what have you,
Yeah.
but people want raw, right? That's why, Mean Gene Oakland, and I have his fucking wrestling buddy right behind me. He made a fuck ton of money off of the fucking WCW hotline. 1-800-909-9900. I still remember it in my fucking head, right? And he the first minute was like $2.99, and then like
Yep.
$4.99 for everything after. That's
Afterwards.
US, right? I can't even imagine what it does for you guys hit the pounds and shit like that. And it was all, if you've ever seen the Christmas Story, right? He gets the fucking, the Red Rider, the decoder, and everything like that, and it's just like,
Yeah.
eat more fucking cornflakes, you drink more fucking quick or whatever the fuck, right? It's that, right? Gene Okerlund's fucking WCW hotline was just like, oh, did you hear what happened? And the first whatever, get you in, and then just
Yep.
stretch it out, and like, tune in next fucking day. Like, I'm fucking $100 in the hole. You ain't selling me shit, Mean Gene.
And you'd still go back for more, no
Oh,
matter
hell
what.
yes. Oh, yeah. Dave Meltzer's built a career on such. He's the only person, I mean, one of the most notable people who are hated both by Vince McMahon of the
Mm-hmm.
WWE as well as UFC's Dana White.
Yep. I mean, they're not wrong too, but like you can't deny the man's made
Yeah,
money.
absolutely. Yeah, and again, watch and listen or read the Observer. Don't read the Observer. And that's the other thing. You were talking about like people that say that they don't watch it nowadays and everything like that. Well, why did you watch? Okay. Oh, because of Stone Cold, whatever. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Kevin Owens is fucking doing
Yeah.
Stone Cold's move. So it
Yep.
can't be that, right? Oh, because of I like MMA now. Okay, have you seen New Japan?
Yeah.
Josh Barnett's fucking Bloodsport. Ah, damn it! Like, what the fuck? Like, Pancrase, Shudo, fucking
Yep.
Pride. Pride was pro wrestling MMA.
Trust me, one of the things I used to love about training, I'm trying to think of another person, but I can't. But there was like this one guy, Ian Skinner, which he's about everywhere now. But like I very much am like, I like family style wrestling. I still do other wrestling, but I love like family shows sort of thing. He's very much like New Japan style, and then you'd have someone else that's like, I want to do technical wrestling, and it's just like, okay, it's cool we have all these things, but how are we going to do this? Like, how are we going to fit all this in? Because we would all want to do all these different things.
So that's actually have you seen a GCW show?
Not properly. I've seen like clips, but I've
Okay.
never like properly
Yeah.
seen one.
So I attended that. It was called GCW Highest in the Room here in LA about 3 weeks ago.
Okay.
And again, headlined by Minoru Suzuki and Jonathan Gresham, right? Which might as well be fucking catch wrestling, jiu-jitsu, MMA, what
Yeah.
have you. They slapped the shit out of each other. Like, I had some of my MMA friends there, and they're like, what the fuck did I just
Yep.
watch? Right? So, but here's the thing. The night started off with like a fucking crazy a trios match, like a three-way trios match.
Okay.
Fucking flippy shit everywhere,
Yeah.
right? Flippy shit everywhere, right? Then it was like Jordan Oliver and God, why do I keep on fucking Jordan Oliver's in Impact Wrestling, and the other guy, and he's Alex Zane, right? And these are guys that are, I'm 5'9", they're 6 foot, and they're
Yeah.
doing fucking lucha and shit, and they're doing strong style shit and whatever, right? And then there's this little guy, I think like Super Ninja or whatever. He's shorter than I.
Yeah.
Like kind of like how we were talking about like being a smaller gal, with chesticles and
Yeah.
whatever, running the ropes. This guy, he looks, he's got a body type of a Christmas ornament, like skinny ass legs, portly in
Yeah.
the middle, and then it kind of goes like whatever, and a $2 fucking 99-cent store mask, right? But I saw him wrestle in the night that Moxley won the title, which was about 5 or 6 weeks ago, the GCW title, and he wrestled this fucking death match, and I was just like, oh my god, I became a believer of that guy, right?
Yep.
And I can't remember who he was wrestling or whatever, but that match, right? Then you had a fucking comedy match of what is it? Oh, Ron Funches, who's done commentary for the WWE and all types of shit. I think he's a part of the Store Horsemen, like the famed comedy store that raised Joe Rogan and Robin
Yep.
Williams and so whatever, and wrestling, and like he runs that podcast. And him and Paul Scheer were going against like Tony Deppen, and Paul Scheer makes a heel turn, turns on like whatever, and you have a fucking celebrity comedy match in East Hollywood, right?
Yep.
And then you have a fucking, or I think before that was G Raver, like a fucking guy who looks of all of, like he's not very physically imposing, has a
Yeah.
shit serpent tattoo on his face and a Baphomet head, ring, like he wears a Baphomet head, right? And
Yeah.
he was going against this guy, Alex Colon, who just kind of looks like me, like
Yeah.
physically, right? And they had a fucking barbed wire, not barbed wire, but they had a like light tube death match and whatever. I cringed. It wasn't my fucking. I was just like, I
Yeah.
liked FMW, but Onita and fucking Hayabusa, they could work, right? Mr. Pogo, all of those motherfuckers, even fucking Dr. Luther, who's now in AEW. Not Dr. Luther now, but
Yeah.
Dr. Luther
Back
in his
then.
fucking prime could fucking work. Mike Awesome, right? So when I see these two guys that might not, there's no way that they're getting to the WWE or whatever,
Yeah.
right? And they're worse than this, whatever. I'm like, whatever. But the crowd is popping, right? And then you had a female match, I can't remember, like a run-in by Danhausen, who is my favorite wrestler right now. Like Danhausen, very good, very evil. We all need teeth. Like he's the fucking shit to me. Because in wrestling, you've seen everything. It's all been done. I've never seen a fucking Danhausen before,
That's
right?
fair.
Yeah. And then at the main event is fucking Grisham and Suzuki who are doing fucking wrestling, like chain fucking wrestling. And the crowd is hyped, and it's a wrestling crowd, and it's not a wrestling crowd. It's
Yeah.
just people that just like, are their first second event out of lockdown, or maybe they don't want to get vaxxed, and this is their last event before they go into,
Yeah, that's
right,
true.
exactly, and it's just like that stuff. What Brian Kendrick does, it's Wrestling Pro Wrestling, also here in LA, right? And it's just like, it's comedy wrestling. It's just like Kaiju Big Battle, whatever. Shout out to Kaiju Big Battle. But they've got like they've got the Parm. No, like it's four horsemen, but it's guys in like masks, like big on like Disney masks or what have you. But it's all cheese. It's all cheese. So you've got Ricotta Flair or a Parm Anderson. It's great,
Oh
right?
no.
But it's like, I think Luthez would be like, rolling in his grave and shit like that. But also Luthez brought Abdullah the Butcher to fucking
Yeah.
Giant Baba and said, and Baba was like, what the fuck is he doing here? And it's like, he bleeds. So if the great Luthez fucking can make a concession of that, one of the greatest, like, if your top five of all time doesn't have a Luthez or a Johnny Saint in it, are we even fucking talking? Are we even fucking
Yeah.
talking? Just saying. Just saying. Which I mean, so of course your brother brought you in, but like, what have you gravitated to, whether it be pre-training or now that you train and you watch a match or a worker, and like now as a worker who kind of understands some of the fundamentals, Like, who or what are you watching?
Um, so what like around the time that I was just kind of watching, on TV, it was like at the time, if you're watching Raw, it was always sort of like favorites were like Edge, Beth Phoenix, CM Punk, Jeff Hardy. Like it was like that kind of time when like Undertaker and Batista were still going, um, all that kind of stuff. But then that's when also like you had TNA on TV, and I loved ODB. Like,
Damn. Yeah.
like legit. Like this was even before I knew the history. So when like Victoria came into TNA, like I didn't watch like old WWE, so I didn't know about the history of like, oh, she was actually there and then came here and then moved and stuff like that. I just thought this women's division's sick and it's like longer than 2 minutes and it's like cool. And then TNA started the British boot camp as well.
Yes.
So that's
Blossom
how
Twins and all that. Yeah.
that's how I started. That's basically how I found out about the Glasgow scene, which I won't really promote anymore due to like
Yeah.
certain people
Yeah.
in it. But that doesn't mean I don't wish people like not just friends but the workers in that scene. Like I wish them absolutely best of luck. But with that show, that's like how I found out about like Kaylee Ray and Nikki Storm and Viper and the Owens twins and all that kind of stuff. And then obviously Nikki went away to WWE. I think that was like, oh, I can't even remember how long ago.
Like
2015,
3 or 4 years.
2016?
Yeah.
No,
Right.
2016, 20. I can't even remember. I was like, I know he passed away in 2016, so it was like after that.
Yeah. Yeah. No, hundred
As
percent.
bad as that is. Because I saw her last match in Barrowlands, and in that way, like I didn't know about this whole like everybody knows secrets sort of thing. Like
Yeah.
I was still very much like kayfabe. So she had her match against Sammy Jane, which
Wow.
isn't her name anymore, so I
Right.
do apologise. But I remember sitting as a fan in that crowd, and I was like, "Don't let Sammy win." No, as a fan, I was like, "She's not good enough. Nikki's the best. Nikki has to win." And then she lost, and I was crying. I was like so upset. And then obviously she started saying goodbye, and I was like,
What the fuck
right.
just happened?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
was like, wrestlers leave, like, that's normal. They lose the title, and then, like, wrestlers just leave for a few months, and then they'll come back in a new storyline. Like, that's fair. And then it was like, no,
No.
she's actually going away. And I was like, what? What do you mean? Because to me, Nikki was probably, there are other people that have been here doing it longer, like Sarah Marie Taylor and, like, all those type of people have been doing it longer. But Nikki to me was like the biggest personality in Scottish wrestling. Kaylee Ray, I would say, with her daredevilness, was like not more talented, but because she could, she was
Do
doing the
that stuff.
flips, she
Yeah.
was doing that kind of stuff. That was you would gravitate towards her. But I thought Nikki was more of a personality that couldn't be replaced, and I still feel that. I still feel like even now the UK scene as a whole hasn't been able to replace her.
Yeah.
And then now with not just her, but you've got Viper
Yeah.
that's now gone. Kaylee Ray is now gone. And there's a bunch of talented people out there, and you don't ever have to be the next person, obviously.
Yeah.
But I feel now with all them sort of going, there's not really. I don't know. Maybe in England, but that's like sort of in a different scene. But for
Right.
Scotland, there's been the same kind of girls for like the last few years. Yes, people are now like myself. We're now starting to get on shows and we can start doing things and we can improve. Because obviously it takes a fair few years to get to the level they were.
Right.
But apart from like maybe the Owens twins, and like we have Sarah Marie Taylor, and I do apologise because you've also changed your name, but I've absolutely forgotten what it is. Apart from like those two are like the sort of vets in Scotland, I would say.
Yeah.
Apart from that, there's nobody ready to kind of take that place.
Yeah.
There's talented people. It's not to say there aren't good people, but for like what I staked on what I grew up with and what I thought wrestling was, I now don't have anything to believe to. I don't have anything to look up to
Right.
right here.
Right
And
here.
that's
Yeah.
that's what I feel like with most fans as well. It's like they might like it, they might like the change, but for people that have been there since more of the start, and then like everybody's grown, now they're all gone. It's like, well, what now? Because the change is taking too long from where like WWE were stealing people to
Yeah.
now. The gap was open too long.
No, and I feel it, and I mean, friends of the podcast, the Owens sisters and Molly Spartan, and
Yeah.
because they're great. Asked for it's almost like Simon Gotch, right? Like I asked for an hour, like the Owens sisters. Leah did. I think Leah did 90, if not 2 hours, and then Casey did 2 hours, and then Molly Spartan, her and Wolfie were kind of just kicking cold ones before, and I don't know if it was beer or if it was a regular beverage or whatever, but they were
Yeah.
just like, but I mean, I can't even remember what pay per view or whatever, but you guys get it pretty late there, so they were just like trying to stay up. So we almost went 3 hours, and so it's just
Yeah.
incredible people. But I can only imagine what it must feel because, like, look at how many people here. Like I want to believe at least all the actions are leading me to believe that what the WWE or Vince McMahon, right, the WWF in the 80s did to territories here, and getting a Piper from Portland and a
Yeah.
Billy Jack Haynes from Portland and a everyone from Florida, from Dusty to whatever, or
Yeah.
I mean Hulk Hogan and Mean Gene Oakland came almost as a pair from Minnesota's and Vern Gana's AWA, right? So like, it's the same thing, Obviously, Pat Patterson from both. I mean, he wrestled here in LA, but he's synonymous with San Francisco wrestling, Roy
Yeah.
Shires, big time wrestling, right? So, with that all being said, I feel like Vince is doing it, and he's not just doing it from here. He's doing it
No.
in your neck of the woods, and it's crazy. It's crazy to me. But some here's some few, and Gav says ICW is incredible. Uh, it is incredible. It was incredible. ICW and Progress were incredible before they were under the guise of the WWE, but now they're in the WWE umbrella. You can find it wherever you can get your WWE and what have you. But the fact of the matter is, like, it doesn't feel the same, right?
For me, like that's like what you guys can see now, but for me, it's like since probably like 2017, it's not really ICW's not been the same. Like it's great for people like Daz Black, Angel Hayes, um, like Molly Spartan herself. Like she was hardly ever on it, and like they were just starting to get their start with COVID, but then obviously it stopped, and then they started doing shows, so they still got on. So it's like great that we can see this multitude of talent. Um, Not great about the one person on their staff.
Right.
That's all I'm gonna say on that one because
Yeah, of
I've got
course.
melee of a post. But it's even then people take that as, oh well, you hate that, so you hate the product. It's like, well, I don't. I hate what the history of it is, and I hate what's going on. But it doesn't mean that you know wrestlers can't wrestle, wrestlers can't show themselves. Like, what are you meant to do? Like, don't be me and just go, nah, I'm not gonna wrestle anywhere. Like, that doesn't get you anywhere. Like, if they want you and you're good enough, obviously, take the shot at it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, to me, so I've just been told over and over by the WWE that I'm not in their demographic. And every time that it's almost like boxing, right? Like
Yeah.
people were asking me about the Fury Wilder fight. I don't have a dog in the hunt because, the fucking first off, it was like the last couple. Oh, honey, honey. Oh my God, there was a baby running out the fucking door along with the dogs. Jesus Christ. Oh, yeah, that's live. That's absolutely live. Fuck. I hope everyone. Owen. Oh Jesus Christ. The baby and the dogs are out there. Mama needs help now. Yeah, that's me. Jesus Christ. Uh, yeah, no, that's it. Go get the dogs. Yeah. Uh, pandemonium is going on
Yeah.
at the Woods household. No, but that's the thing. Like, I don't get Sammy Guevara, right? I don't. There's a bunch of, and plus the things that Sammy Guevara has said.
Mm-hmm.
In
Yeah.
I am. I there was, like, if there's a segment with him in it, I'm turning off. Right? Like, and that's just what it is.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean I'm turning down AEW as a whole or what have
Yeah.
you. It's just that guy,
Yeah.
or and there's people like I, Shawn Michaels. Shawn Michaels is a jerk. Shawn Michaels is a jerk. It doesn't matter
Yeah.
what he believes in now. Ask the Hurricane and RVD about
Well,
the
that's like
Christian.
one of if you want a clickbait. One of my biggest things is that's what it's not even like it's from a wrestling show, but it's not even like because of wrestling, right? So everybody talks big about Billy Gunn, obviously, and how he's so amazing and stuff like that. I was at a show and I was working, like it was him and X Pac that were there, um, so like working their merchandise, and I just remember this little boy in a wheelchair coming up. Now Billy Gunn was like, and I understand you need to make your money, but he was just like, "There's no autographs. You have to pay £10 for this photo if you want my autograph." And the little disabled boy in his wheelchair had like a little booklet of WWE stars, and he just really wanted it signed. And he basically told the boy to fuck off, and I was just like, "Well, I hate you now."
Yeah,
Like, but and it's like that's not gonna. I'm not gonna tell other people, "Oh, you have to hate like Billy Gunn because I saw this and I lived it." No, like you can still have your own opinions, but it's just like it breaks you. But it's like, right, you're a character, but now that's you as a person, and you've just killed that character for me
yeah,
because now I know you're a crap person. Like,
yeah. No, 100%. And that's the. I've seen that happen as well, and it'll leave it nasty. Kevin Nash is notorious for it. Like I look, I have even heard of. Actually, he said it. No, I don't think he said it. But he was working a show, and workers were coming up to him, and he was charging the workers.
I
But
mean,
that
to be fair, I would kind of respect that in a way because
you're
here,
teaching.
not like in that way, but here there's a lot of people that would like, not even like for a star, but there's people that just turn up to shows and expect to just kind of sit there for free, see the product, help out, get their name out. It's like that's not how this works. Like, unless you're there helping or you're there for a seminar, like you don't get shit for free here. You need to work for it.
Yeah, no, 100%. But this was like this
Yeah, he's
was
just
the promoter, and he didn't know until after when he got the payday,
oh, oh, ouch.
right?
Yeah, that's just a dick. But
Yeah. So that's the thing, or Hulk Hogan in a hallway, and it's not just wrestling, right? I think it's Dave Grohl or some notable musician, right? Some notable rock star, right? He was in the studio, right, recording whatever the fuck, and Paul Stanley from fucking Kiss comes in, right? And this person is there with their young child, right? And this person, this I want to believe it's Grohl,
yeah,
from right, but like it could
for this
not be.
story it is. For this
Yeah,
story it is.
yeah. So he's there, right, and then he's geeking out because he's a fucking big Kiss fan and grew up as a fan of Kiss and whatever,
Yeah.
right? And then they had turned the kid on to Kiss music too, right? But the kid knows the fucking face paint, and here's Paul Stanley in a fucking suit, looking like Paul Stanley.
Yeah.
Like Phantom of the Opera. He was actually a Phantom of the Opera during the stage show presentation here in the States, right? So then delivery of Kiss action figures with Paul Stanley on it, right? And they're talking, and he pulls one out, and then you could see the epiphany the kid goes through.
Yeah.
He is that. Oh my fucking god! I'm standing in front of the guy that fucking Kiss at Phantom Park and the fucking Destroyer album, and holy fuck, like he's here in front of me, right? And he's holding his fucking figure. So like, holy
Yeah.
shit, and I can get a figure, right? So Paul Stanley leans into the kid. Oh, couldn't be more than 5, kindergarten age, right? It's like, you like one of these? It's like, well, tell your dad to go down the road to the fucking shop to get you one.
Man. Like, oh,
Yes.
I get, like, if you don't want to give anything for, like, because nobody has to give anything for free. You don't have to be that person, but you don't have to be such a dick about it. Like, there's no need for that.
So
Oh.
above me, like, so for me, I am a Kiss fan, right? But I almost can't listen to them now, right?
Yeah.
And especially for me, right? I'm a there's a band from Canada. They're a power trio. They're called Danko Jones, and I love them, right?
Okay.
And I remember the first time that I saw them, like on MTV in the late '90s, and they were like, or early 2000s, and they were like, "This is what happens when two Kiss fans, one being a Gene Simmons fan with the fucking, you know, fucking broads and the tongue
Yeah.
and the fucking blood and whatever." And then Ace Frehley. And for those who are Kiss fan, Ace Frehley, he's the fucking space ace. He's the one whose fucking guitar has fireworks and pyro coming out of it and shit like that. But he's very much the virtuoso of the group. You know, it's just like you can kind of must. I love Limp Bizkit, right?
Okay.
But people that don't like Limp Bizkit, they cannot deny the fucking technical savvy of Wes Borland, right? He's Eddie Van Halen and fucking Stevie Ray Vaughan and like Dimebag Darrell from Pantera all in one, and wearing weird fucking face paint and dressing up like a fucking half dead reindeer and whatever the fuck, right? And you can kind of muster Limp Bizkit if you're not a Limp Bizkit fan, because you're like, that's Wes Borland. Or fucking Poison with CC DeVille, right? Like you can justify certain things, right? And yeah, for me, Kiss, the two guys that are on the reunion tour that are playing Peter Criss, right? The Catman, the drummer, right? And are playing Ace Frehley, those aren't Ace Frehley and Peter Criss. Well, Gene Simmons and Paul Stanley, right? It's Gene Simmons doesn't drink, doesn't whatever, but
Yeah.
bangs everybody.
Yeah.
Like bangs everybody, right? And Paul Stanley, the story that I just told, right? But these are your two friends, and of course, like the Peter Criss and Paul Stanley had drug addictions or whatever. But you kind of, especially nowadays, you have to stand by your friends, right? And yes, of course, missed recording sessions, like Kiss at Phantom Park, right? Kiss at Phantom Park, which is at Kiss at their height, right? In the
Yeah.
in the '70s, it was a fucking made-for-TV movie. And Ace Frehley, my favorite Kiss member, is so fucked up that they have a black guy dressed like Ace to play all of Ace's scenes.
Yeah.
Like a black dude. Like, I mean, here in the States, right? Like, a Journey, right? A Journey, right? Great band, amazing, right? But like when Ross Valerie, the bassist, are fucking, got fucked up, too fucked up, or whatever, and had a contractual dispute with the band, they implored none other than Randy Jackson, a pre-American Idol Randy Jackson. And that's why the whole, like the first or second season, the scandal with like Paula Abdul giving like this guy, Journey songs to sing, knowing that it
Yeah.
tugged the heartstrings or whatever. Again, because he was the bassist of Journey. The on the radio record is Randy Jackson on bass, where he had this weird roulette wheel bass guitar and a matching leather jacket. It looked like, I'll send you the video when we get off air.
That's fine.
It is fucking wild with a flat top like this, and again, it's a rotund Randy Jackson in skinny jeans, well, like tights,
Yeah.
and a bass that looks like his jacket with a flat top, singing "Be Good Yourself" and "Faithfully." Like, it's all weird, right? And but how dare you, right? How dare you get the intellectual properties of these two guys, right? And then just get two other guys to
Yep.
replace them, right? And yes, they fucked up and, missed recording sessions and millions of dollars or whatever. But how many millions of fucking dollars have you made since
Since,
in
yep.
Kiss condoms and Kiss video games and, Kiss augmented reality and 80 they were on their fucking retirement tour in 2004.
Yep.
They halted this one because of COVID. Only COVID stopped this thing. A 20-year fucking retirement tour for those keeping count.
Oh, don't jinx it because what was it, like two
Are they?
years ago? Not Kiss, but my mum's a big Guns N' Roses fan. Um, so but we would never like half-ass it. So when they were doing the tours, like either Slash wasn't there or Axl was, we wouldn't go to it. But now this is like meant to be the tour where they're all there, and then COVID happened, and now it's meant to be next year. And I'm just like, I swear to God, you better not fall out. One of you better not die. Like I've paid
Yes.
so much money to see you die.
Yes. Oh, well, see, I actually got a cool little deal because right around when Slash, fucking dog, right around when Slash and Duff McKagan rejoined the group and what have
Yeah.
you. So what ended up happening actually was this time next year. I mean, 2 years ago. Fucking. Oh, and Jesus Christ, I'm gonna throw something at the dog. Anyway, yeah, Oh, so we went to the Palladium, which is a pretty historic venue, everywhere from like Ramones and
Yeah.
like Chuck Berry, like and Little Richard, like everybody's played there. Nine Inch
Yeah.
Nails, like Madonna when she was doing her club shows, did like 9 sold out fucking deals at just the Palladium, right? Um, so I took her to see Lenny Kravitz, right,
Okay.
at the Palladium. And the cool thing about the Palladium is essentially it's like concert seating, right? So if you
Yeah.
get a general admin, you, you're on the floor,
Yeah.
but it's like a ballroom fucking thing. So the only seats are up in the balcony.
Well,
So you're
yeah.
like fucking Caesar or whatever the fuck, right? Like the queen, right? So we go to the show, right, and we enter the Palladium, and it's right in Hollywood, across from the old Nickelodeon studios where all that and iCarly was filmed and shit like that, right? And they do it very much like old school Hollywood, where like the flyers, they put up flyers. So in the bathroom, I went to the fucking John, and there's flyers, and it's Miles Kennedy and Slash and
I
the
remember that. Yeah.
yeah. So I didn't even get out of the fucking toilet. I purchased the fucking tickets right from my phone, and I was like, yeah, it was 30 fucking bucks. So I was
Yep.
like, bang, right? And I knew Miles Kennedy was a part of Alter Bridge, with Mark Tremonti from Creed and everything. Again,
Yeah.
that's another band where you're like, oh, fucking Scott Stapp, can you take me? That sucks. But the fucking Mark Tremonti solos, fucking out of this world, man. So, I know Miles Kennedy was a part of Alter Bridge, or still a part of Alter Bridge, right? Miles Kennedy, I'm sorry. Miles Kennedy is, part of Alter Bridge or whatever. But I'd never really listened to Alter Bridge, right?
Yeah.
This motherfucker, to me, he is the best singer. Like, I've seen Zapp and Roger, I've seen, like, Lisa, I've seen Phil Collins, I've seen, Lenny Kravitz. To me, Miles Kennedy is the best live singer that I have ever seen in my life, right?
That's fair. Yeah.
Because here's the thing. So I didn't know that they were an actual, like, Miles Kennedy Slash and the Conspirators. I didn't know they were an actual fucking band. Like, I thought it was just one of, like, Slash's many fucking side groups. Like
Yeah.
the Road Crew and, it's assorted members insert here, right? Whoever the fuck, whatever, right? And then finding out, like, the first time I heard Starlight, and people are singing along live, and I'm like, I don't even fucking know,
Yeah, I
or
don't know what that is.
anesthesia, right? And I don't even fucking know what this is, right? But so he's Miles Kennedy is singing all of their stuff, right? And then Slash was in the little band called Velvet Revolver, fronted by the late great Scott Weiland. They're playing not only STP songs, but also Velvet Revolver songs. Pitch Perfect. Pitch
Yep.
Perfect is Miles Kennedy. And then from like Fall to Pieces, which I cried because if you know about Scott Weiland, all those guys, right?
Yeah.
Duff and like all of Matt Sorum, all of their drug issues. It's chronicled and everything like that, right?
Yeah.
What that song means to them, and then also Weiland dying of an overdose, right? Like, I never thought I would hear that song live,
Yeah, that's fair.
and they fucking lied into it. And again, Miles Kennedy is Pitch Perfect. My wife looks at me, my eyes are fucking welled up, and I'm bawling at this fucking point. And I'm only like 30 feet away, because again, like concert seating and whatever. She's like, big crowds give her anxiety and shit like that. And I'm pulling her, like,
Oh,
lighter, Zippo. Like, that was it. And they went from Fall to Pieces, from Velvet Revolver, and Guns N' Roses Night Train.
yeah.
And again, Miles Kennedy, Pitch Perfect with Axl. Miles
Yeah.
Kennedy is, to me, he's the GOAT. Like, until somebody proves me different, like, Phil Collins is quirky and funny. I saw him the night that, like, the Dodgers lost the World Series and everything, and he's just like, hey, like, and he came up hobbled because his back is fucked. He
Yeah.
had broken his, foot, like, 2 weeks before or whatever. And you hear, this is the Great Western Forum where Wayne Gretzky and Magic Johnson played and everything like that, right? 17,000 seats and what have you. And people are like, whatever. And he sits on his fucking chair, grabs the mic, and he's like, I know you guys had choices of where you could be tonight, right?
Yeah.
And people are like, whatever. It's like, I know you guys had choices. The Dodgers fucking lost. And the fucking, talk about heel heat. The crowd turns on him. Right? And he's just like, I don't give a shit. I'm British living in
Yeah.
Miami. But if it's okay with you, let's have a good time. And he lights into fucking Something Happened on the Way to Heaven. And everything was forgotten. And he's like, even me with the podcast, like my fucking, like, I love my kids, love my wife. And I love the fact that they don't get into it. I go hard in the paint. I've got wrestling figures and Funko Pops and 500 podcasts in 22 months, right? Like, I go hard in the paint with things. And they kind of get me out and bring me back into the real world, right? But like Phil Collins, who has his son Nicholas drumming for him because he can't physically do it anymore.
Yeah.
He's just like, hey guys, and no one else, none of the rest of the band are there. It's just Phil, and then Nicholas comes from the kit to a piano that they put on stage, and they're like, of all of my catalog, the Genesis stuff, my solo stuff, the stuff that I won a Grammy and an Oscar and an Emmy for, and a Tony for. Do you know how many songs, as we're learning for this tour, that my son likes? One.
Yep.
This obscure fucking B-side from Genesis in 76. Right? Where I'm not even singing it. Peter Gabriel is singing it. Right? But if it's okay with you guys, we'd like to play that. And Nicholas is on the keys. Phil is sitting next to him on the fucking piano bench. And they fucking do this song. And it's just like, and that made me believe, like, you're never going to be the fucking cool dad. If you think you're going to be the cool fucking parent, fuck you, it ain't happening. Because Phil Collins, who's actually paying his son to play his drum shit, this kid is, at 19, is making several $1 million.
That's true, yeah.
And if he is not cool to his kids, fuck it. It's okay.
I guess that's how it works, to be fair.
Yeah. Going back to wrestling, do you have a favorite match?
Oh, good.
And you
Um,
don't have to pick one. I don't. I hate those greatest of all time because people
hmm,
every time there's a great match, right? They're like, oh,
yeah.
fucking Savage Steamboat, and then they see Flair and Steamboat, and then you see something of
Yep.
Luthez, and then you see fucking Dragunov versus Walter, right? And then you're like,
Oh
but
yeah.
all of them can't
Yeah.
be your fucking greatest of all
Yeah.
time.
Like I
Is
hate that. Like you have favorites like from childhood. You've got
yeah,
favorites like you love to watch. Then you've got your favorites for like so like right now for research purposes, all I've been watching is like the Great Muta. Um, that's all I've been watching because that's basically how I want to comprehend as myself. I don't want to
yes,
steal her, but it also is a bit awkward because she hits the choke bomb and then like not that I didn't know who she was, but I didn't watch her stuff. But then obviously I hit the choke bomb as well, but I hadn't watched her matches, so now I know she hits it, and I was like, I swear I'm not copying her. I swear I'm
yeah.
not. um, so I've been watching like her versus like Miss Elizabeth and stuff like that, all that kind of stuff. Um, but one of my favorite like I love tag team matches, like they're one of my favorite things. So like the Dudleys versus the Hardys and Edge and Christian, like you couldn't beat it. And then like not that it is anymore, but especially when like I've already Undisputed Era came into
Yes.
WWE, that kind of got me more excited. Like it was like what Nexus was like that tried to do, and I was excited for them, and obviously that kind of went to crap. And then like tried it again a few years later, and like here's a stable, and I was like, this is great. I'm invested, not just as a group. It's the same with like the New Day. Like a lot of people will tell you like they should have been over it long ago, and it's like no, they shouldn't. Not every single tag team in wrestling needs to break up, and not every single tag team has to go for tag titles all the time. They can do their own thing and still be a tag team. Like so I don't watch it, but I know obviously what's happening with Big E because I've seen it in the news, so like I'm
Right.
happy it's finally happened, but
Yeah.
that should have happened years ago.
10 years ago when he still had the chest and the fucking
Yeah.
5 count and the fucking
Oh,
throwing the powder, like that was a real title fucking whatever. And
yeah.
nothing against like Jinder Mahal and what have you, but you got Big E on your, and that's kind of like my deal, right? You're there's nothing that leads me to believe that WWE's booking, if not for a Danielson, a Ruby Riot, a CM Punk, and
Mhm.
Adam Cole going over to AEW, there's nothing that leads me to believe that if not for those things and NFL football, right?
Mhm.
Monday Night Football, they were going head and head like they do every year, right?
Yeah.
With fucking a big game. There's nothing that leads me to believe that the WWE would have done any booking difference,
Oh no.
right?
Like that's what I hate as well because people, especially people that believe WWE is the like be all and end all, like WWE is not my goal. Like I can fully say that, and do you know what? You can perceive that as I'm lazy. You can perceive that as I'm too fat to bother, or whatever. But like it never has been the goal. I like wrestling, and do you know what? I would love to wrestle like every single weekend. But it doesn't mean I need to like I don't want to like move away from my family to then go somewhere where you're still training constantly, which is I'm not saying that's good, that's great they have the facility, but then you're also paying for everything and you might not be on TV. You might just be backstage like for the 3 years that you're signed there.
Yes.
And then you don't get to wrestle. And it's like, well, what's the point? I'm not there for sports entertainment. I'm there to have a wrestling match. So if I can do 30 of them in a year on a weekend up and down the country compared to, you know, people would be like, but you can wrestle one WWE match. So what? I would literally rather the 30 up and down the country and then like then maybe you have fans or people that hate you, but then that creates a story and like that's what
Yes.
people perceive that WWE should be doing, but they don't care enough to do it anymore. So it's like
No, 100%. No, and here's the thing. Anybody that kind of detracts you from saying, "Oh, you're thinking too small time" or what have you. Oh,
yeah.
there's this guy named like Alan Jones. You might know him as a phenomenal one, AJ Styles, right? Where they wanted him to go to fucking Cincinnati or wherever the fuck, right? Les Thatcher's school, right?
Yep.
And his wife was in fucking college, and he was like, I'm not gonna uproot her and her dreams to do this, right? He
Yeah.
goes to fucking Impact, right? Goes to Impact. He's the cornerstone.
Yep.
Like, I mean, him, because Daniel's worked other places, right? Like Daniel, I mean, this is SoCal. Like I remember seeing Daniel's. We had like a 3 hour block on a Saturday. We had UPW, which had like Daniels and Samoa Joe,
Mm-hmm.
Cena, Edge and Christian would come down. Even Triple H and what have you would come down or whatever. Regal. I think there was like you can't say his name, but I think there's a Regal Benoit match that
Mm-hmm.
happened at UPW, and then they replicated it again for either the Pillman Memorial Show or the what's his oh fuck, why am I blanking on his name, Umaga. Like
Yeah.
whatever, they have a match again, but it happened in UPW first or after, right? And then you had XPW, Supreme, Joey Chaos. I mean, Chris Kloss and Larry Rivera as the commentators. Fucking Abdullah the Butcher would come in. Terry Funk, Sandman, New Jack. That's the place where New Jack fucking
Yep.
throws Vic Grimes off of the fucking scaffold and damn near kills him. And he's like, yeah. I stunned him first with the fucking stun gun, and I was trying to, like, I was upset. New Jack is like, I was upset that motherfucker didn't go over the ropes.
Yep.
That happened in XPW, right? And then that 3rd hour, so we get hour UPW, hour of XPW, and then an hour of ECW. And that's
Mm-hmm.
how we got our ECW. So with that all being said, it's just like, you you cannot you could be a legend, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
Daniels was there, like Kazarian was in UPW, Samoa Joe, right? AJ Styles was a homegrown guy,
Yep.
right? Bobby Roode, homegrown guy, right? And when the WWE passed the first time, there's that match with him. I want to say it's him and Cena, or him. No, him and the Hurricane.
Mm-hmm.
It's him and Hurricane on like Velocity and shit like that, and they passed on him,
Yep.
right? That he wrestles it, does all the shit in Impact and everything like that. And he's like, hey, WWE, want me now? Nope.
Yeah.
So he goes to New Japan. Fucking, like,
Yep.
he was never better. Even with back injuries and shit like that, he was essentially working that fucking strong style pursue, Like, fuck, man. And just, like, he's one of the most decorated, champions in wrestling history. He's
Yep.
like the singles Dudley Boys. Wins world titles everywhere he's gone. And not many people could say that. But again, imagine if he had went to, uprooted his family, went to
Mm-hmm.
Heartland. They probably would have fucking passed on him, future endeavor, like they did Kid Cash and Jerry Lynn and all these amazing, came out with a country gimmick like Jamie Noble, or he might have been, might have put him under a hood and he would have been the fourth Mexico, like they did Jamie Noble in WCW, right?
God.
And
Yeah.
and look at him now. He's bigger than shit. Vince loves him. Like Vince loves him and our Truth. Which, funny enough, those are homegrown guys from NWA Wildside in
Mm-hmm.
Georgia, right? And Vince loves them. Like they're pretty much lifers in the WWE. But Vince didn't want anything to do with them.
Yep. That I hate that so much. Like people think as well, like if somebody's not like on a title run or whatever, like they're not. Do you know like that 24/7 championship? Like Truth made that. Like that would not have been funny or entertaining or anything like that if it wasn't for him. And it's you know what like. Yeah, he wasn't showcasing himself as a wrestler, but he's showcasing his character and what he can do. And it's the same way, like, people be like, oh, if you look at I'm trying to think of people. Husky Harris. If you look at him, oh, that's what he looked like, but he can do this character too, and he can. And it's like, but everybody needs to do that at one point or another, especially in WWE. Like most of my big like characters were like Mark Henry and Big Show. They did fuck all. They would come out and be the laughing joke of the
Yeah.
like 5 minute segment. Like the whole bloody Edge and Vicky and Big Show
Yeah.
affair and all that, and it's
Yeah.
like that was ridiculous. But I'd still believe if Big Show came down to the ring, he's gonna punch you and it's gonna hurt.
Yeah.
So like,
Oh, did you have you seen his work in WCW as a Giant?
oh yeah,
Where
yes,
he's fucking scaling like a fucking he runs like
yeah,
a gazelle and fucking runs up to do a missile drop kick, and the whole fucking ring shifts into the fucking first row. Like, then you tell me that's not an athlete? Get the you don't even know what the fuck you're talking about. You know, like what the fuck are you saying?
I think
Right?
one of my favourite ones out with WWE still to this day is probably Kevin Owens versus Dave Mastiff. And it was like the simplest spot, but when it was like, you know, doing the horse and like the shoulder tackle and then doing the drop kick, and then Dave Mastiff like nips up and does the drop kick back. And
Yes.
I'm just like, that's where it's like, right, you don't need to do flips all the time. But if you're big and you pull it out in the right occasion,
Yes.
it's hilarious and it's great and it's fucking amazing.
Yes. Okay. So here's the thing. Um, so for me, drop kicks, DDTs, spine busters, gourd busters, super kicks. Those are finishes.
Yeah.
Because so my friend who just got into the UFC, Chris Curtis, shout out to Chris Curtis. There's this thing called the Dana White's Contender Series where Dana White, it basically plays Caesar. Bunch of, like there's 6 fights on the card, and you could win, and if Dana White doesn't like your fucking personality, he can fucking whatever, right?
Yeah.
Chris Curtis, this is the season 1. They've run it for 3, maybe 4 years, right? Up to this point. Chris Curtis, in the first fucking stanza of the fight, punches his opponent in the fucking forehead, breaks his hand.
God.
Okay? Tell me why he KOs his opponent using a super kick.
Yep.
You can crescent kick and savate kick all you want. That's the same shit Shawn Michaels is doing. Right? That put out Ric Flair and everything like that. So if you can do that in a real fucking fight, the fuck you have 80 of them in a match. Yeah, I'm talking to you,
I hate
Massey
that so
brothers.
much.
Like, it's just, look at fucking Lashley and Chris Masters got the fucking, what is it? The fucking full Nelson. Right? Has anybody been in a full Nelson?
Yeah.
That is not fucking fun.
No. Even if they're not clinching it in, it's
Yes.
still the most uncomfortable thing.
At the very least, it's uncomfortable. But you have it in 30 seconds. Especially guys like, Masters and fucking Lashley. Your shoulder blades are probably going to be like that.
Yep.
And that's the thing. Insiguris, that's another fucking thing. The best spine buster in the fucking business is Arn Anderson, because if you notice about Arn Anderson, and I don't know if you've noticed it already, but he's boat-legged. And here's how I'll show you. Watch him and the torque that he gets on the spine buster, and it's the same boat-leggedness that Matt Hardy has. And because when you see Matt does every time Matt throws a leg drop, especially the one off of the turnbuckle, the visual, he looks like a wishbone. His legs look like a wishbone. He's boat-legged. When he throws a punch, it's almost like he's on fucking stilts.
Yeah.
Right? Because they're boat-legged. But in Arn Anderson's spine buster, that's why his, to me, is not only did he invent the move, Owen, behind you. Not only did he invent the move, but also, that torque that he gets. That's a torque that Triple H can't get because he's not bow-legged, right? If Jake the Snake Roberts can literally crack the skull of Ricky Steamboat at the Boston Gardens, crack his skull, legit, with a DDT, and you use 8 on the match and still can't get the 1, 2, 3, you're a shit wrestler.
Yeah. But, like, at the end of the day, there's a lot of things, though, that are used as finishes. But, like, for me, I don't use the same, like, I've not used it since, but like I used to use a spine buster, but I wasn't built. I want to eventually get there one day, but I'm not built for the whole, like the proper like moving round. Like that gives it that power. I just do the simple like up and onto the knees one, so it's not as powerful, but it's still like at the end of the match. I'm not gonna stick it. Obviously, the point is to win a match, right? That is the point. But you still need to. It's like powering up almost. Like you're getting to your final form, and that's where you're gonna hit the hardest. Like in all reality, yeah, you would probably like you'd want to hit a super kick right at the start and knock them out. But like the only one that's sticking out to me where that worked so much was the Triple H versus Shawn Michaels versus John Cena match, where he just turned around and super kicked Triple H, and it was like, right, it makes sense because he's still got another dude to wrestle, but he's out cold. Like
Yes.
he's not getting up from
Yes.
that, but he's not going to pin him because he's just going to drag him off him. So it was just like that makes
That's it.
sense.
No, 100%. Sandy Smith, like the good brother, incredible photographer. Like Sandy Smith is the man. But he says bionic elbow, gimmicky finish, but if it worked properly. And again, you go to a pub and get into a deal. Somebody throws this elbow at you,
Oh yeah.
lights out. That shit is over. We're not talking anymore. That's what Muay Thai, right? And one of the Muay Thai fighters, they don't like. Of course, they train their hands and their kicks and kicking, fucking palm trees until
Yeah.
their shins are dead, right? But they throw, especially fighters that have the Muay Thai style, they learn how to throw their elbows like punches, just as readily as punches. So again, a bionic elbow. If you fucking can literally knock somebody out with it in a Muay Thai, MMA fight, right? Kumite fight or a fucking I forgot what they call it, Lethway, right? Which is fucking crazy. If you
Yeah.
can knock somebody out like that, again, the bionic elbow is a finish. Want. Now, of course, Dusty can get it over. He was charismatic enough. But also, look how big Dusty was.
Yep.
So it's believable. And again, it's kind of bang, like it's like a jab in the fight, right? You just jab, jab, bam, right? And that's, for me, psychologically, that's what Dusty's bionic. Well, he hits you with one, two, and he's jabbing you, right? And you're disoriented. That third one, when he whatever, and he can do all that fucking whatever, because you're on spaghetti legs. You're on Dream Street, right?
Yeah.
Because again, a jab can, especially if you
Yeah.
get fucking on the bridge of the nose, and Dusty hits you with that fucking elbow, which now Colt Cabana does, Bubba Ray has done, Tommy Dreamer's done, and what have you, in homage to the late great Dusty Rhodes, right? But hit somebody with the elbow in the fucking bridge of the nose. They will cry, this shit will split, and blood will come out. That's a fucking finish, folks. You only need one. But it's subjective. That's me. That's also why one of the reasons why I love like Josh Barnett's Bloodsport, right? And this is a catch wrestling guy, right? I had one of my friends who trains in 10th Planet Jiu-Jitsu do a catch wrestling, and again, 10th Planet Jiu-Jitsu, no gi, just rash guard and shorts and everything.
Yeah.
And like that's submission grappling, and that's the reason why a lot of mixed martial artists use that is because it's the most adaptable. Gone are the days where you can go into an MMA cage or ring with a fucking gi on, right? The commissions are not gonna fucking green light that, right? It's too dangerous. Somebody could slip and somebody lands on their neck,
Yeah.
flying guard, whatever. But my friend, who's a pretty astute submission grappler, but under the 10th Planet system, and has done a bunch of submission jiu-jitsu tournaments, right? Won money and everything like that, championships, all whatever. He's just to kind of, plenty the well, he enters a fucking catch wrestling tournament. And he's used to fighting off his back in jiu-jitsu. He got pinned. He got pinned.
Yeah.
Right? So Barnett, who's an avid fucking, disciple of the late great Billy Robinson, and catch wrestling, literally from Wigan, England, right? It's not just Barnett. It's Marina Shafir. It's Shayna fucking Baszler, right?
Yeah.
But that's the thing. But Bloodsport, it's KO or submission, not even pins.
No.
No
Yeah.
ropes. It's pins or submission. Where you get like Cal Jack, the Grizzly Cal Jack, and I think the first one here in LA, which was on a soundstage because of COVID. His KO is he picks, and this is a guy whose dad has legitimate pins on Dan the Beast Severn and Dan the Beast Severn, Gary Albright. Who else was it? God, so many fucking great, like, wrestlers of the day. Dance, but just that Dr. Death Steve Williams and fucking, oh, Randy Couture, that's the other one, right? Has NCAA fucking wins, whatever. His son has a cup of coffee in WWE developmental, comes out, and again, obviously he's a pretty astute wrestler in his own right, under his given name Clayton Jack. But Cal Jack is gut-wrenching motherfuckers and whatever. And I didn't see it coming. I thought he was going to press slam the dude, right? And there, I kind of see his fucking eyes, right? On the fucking live feed. His eyes looked at the brick wall. And there's no ropes, right? And Cal Jack chucks the motherfucker into the brick wall for his KO.
God.
Yes. And you tell me you don't like wrestling?
Yeah.
Fuck off. If you see a motherfucker with legit amateur wrestling credentials and is 6'8", and he checks a 150-pound gent doing flippy shit in a no rope ring, and he
chucks.
That's gonna happen. How many fucking you look at my fucking social media feeds? I guarantee you, I have a meme somewhere of a bouncer throwing somebody out of the fucking club, like literally throwing somebody out of the club. So that shit works. So don't tell me it doesn't work. It's just, and if you like and again, I'm not shitting on if you're a flippy shit wrestler, if you like the flippy shit, kudos, hell yes, man. But I might check out a little bit.
Yeah.
It's just
Everyone's got their style and what they like. Like not everybody likes comedy wrestling, but
I love it.
Grado's such a big deal, but and no harm to the guy.
Yeah.
But he wrestles the
yeah.
same match.
Yeah.
He doesn't need to do anything. He just everybody was like, oh, Cena only has 5 moves. Like so does Grado, but you like him because it's funny, and it's just like, well, that's entirely it. Like everybody has what they like and what they don't like.
Yeah, no, and that's it, and whether it be Grado, whether it be Dusty, whether it be obviously hell, even fucking Johnny Saint, the great Johnny Saint, and in my head, like I want to see what Johnny Saint looks like against Eddie Bravo in EBI, or combat jiu-jitsu, right, where open hand slaps, and who wins? Like that's what or Billy Robinson versus Barnett, or Billy Robinson against I don't know, fucking Alistair Overeem. How the fuck that looks. Like, that's what I do in my head when I just have free time. I'm just fantasy booking in my fucking head, right? But that's the thing. Everybody has something to kind of bring to the table. And if you're not going to like everything. And like I said, that's why I like GCW. Comedy matches, celebrity matches, fucking flippy shit. Motherfuckers like missiles just flying all over the place. And Minoru Suzuki and a death match and whatever the fuck, and people just are into it. You don't have to be a wrestling fan to get, and that's usually the best, And shout out to all the fucking, not signed to major companies talent, and they're like, oh fuck, well, I'm booked on this show, blah blah blah, and shoot a promo for Instagram or whatever, and that's creativity, right? But also, if the fucking the paying fans have no backstory at all, they don't even know why this fucking match is happening, right? Like Suzuki Grisham, all you have to do is put those two on the fucking bill. Yeah. That's all you need to know, and you know what you're getting, right? And then tell the story that way, just in the ring, right? There's many ways to skin a cat, right? Conor McGregor is literally the biggest star that the UFC has ever produced. The MMA as a whole. He's the biggest box office draw. He's the biggest gate. He's the most notable. I don't like Hulk Hogan, but I'm not gonna fucking take anything away from him, right? If you said pro wrestling in the '80s and even into the '90s, they're like, oh, the thing Hulk Hogan does, right? And when you say MMA, like total disclosure, drove for Lyft and Uber, right? I picked people up from WME, the parent company of the UFC. Pick people up from their fucking Beverly Hills adjacent deal. And they're like, oh, you're an actor? And I was like, no, I'm an interviewer for MMA and pro wrestling. And they're like, what's MMA? I know pro wrestling. What's MMA? Like, what? Like, the UFC. Like, what's the UFC? People who own the fucking company
Yep.
that pull the
Totally.
strings don't even know what the fuck it is.
Sounds
And
about right.
right, but going back to the fucking Billy Guns and everything like that, you're a big star in this kind of niche market.
Yep.
But hell, where I like why I like where I live, as much as I might get popular or whatever from this stuff, like I go to the fucking Whole Foods and the fucking Filipino dude from the Black Eyed Peas is in check stand number 2 or whatever. And
That's
that's not like a ha I can whatever. No, I'm if anybody is like doesn't understand it, it's me. How the fuck I live where I am, how the fuck I can do this and everything. It's fucking me, right? But there are more people famous and more notable. If Rogan lived down the road and he literally does the same thing, just better, well, fucking go get Rogan's autograph.
course.
I'm gonna walk my dog and share memes all day. It's a different race, and he already
Yeah.
won. Kudos to him. Not hating on him. I listen to him. Listen to Cornette and all the people who do it better than me. People that don't do better than me. People. I don't think I'm in the same level as dudes at Ringside Podcast, but hopefully, some way, somehow. But that's the thing. So yeah. Which are there any venues that you would like to wrestle in?
Oh God, venues. Do you know at this point, I don't think I've really got specific venues anymore. Um, I would right before COVID hit, I was meant to wrestle in my hometown, um, against Madison Miles, which would have been like great, because obviously, she's an international talent and it would have been fantastic. They just had their first show back as well last night, and it was actually in the venue where we had the wake for my gran. So again, like it's like I don't have great memories of that place, but also it's just down the road from where I used to live, so it would be kind of cool one day if we could live up to that. I think it's just more no matter where you are, no matter if there's 8 people in attendance or there's 80 or there's 800, like as long as I can go out there and like keep getting better, I can do what I can do. But not only that, but like the fans are interested in the match. Like that's all I care about at the end of the day. Whether it's at a brand new company or hopefully one day it could be like somewhere like Future Shock or Pro Wrestling Eve, that the big all women's. It would be fantastic. Me myself right now, I feel like I'm not good enough. That's not just because of COVID. That's just like the talent they have. But like you genuinely never know. Everybody could go to WWE and there's no women left, and that might be the last option. But as long as you keep working for it. But that's the only thing I hope for. I don't have venues. I don't care if it's big or small. I don't care if it's in a field. I love doing gala, like the sort of sunshine days, and you sit and wrestle in a field. Like they're actually quite a lot of fun. As long as I can do it and do it well, that's all I really care about at the end of the day.
No, I like it. I like it. Now, but as much as you're getting into the Great Muta, and why wouldn't you? Like the first time that I ever saw non WWF wrestling, right? It was Muta's feud with Sting, and I was just like, face paint and
Yep.
oh, and the shit Muta was doing, the shit Muta can still do, Shining Wizard, and You know,
Huh.
fuck, man. Like Muda, like I might have a sport coat that is signed by Rocky Romero, Muda, CM Punk, and
God.
Minoru Suzuki.
I would keep that safe.
Yeah,
Definitely.
no, no, no. Well, the only time it sees because I was just like, it was, I I think Muda did a PCW Ultra show here, right? And I was
Mhm,
just like, oh fuck, Muda's coming to the US and I can whatever. I paid the fucking VIP,
mhm.
whatever the fuck and whatever. And then I realized, oh shit, I don't have anything for him to sign because all I wanted was a photo op. But it was
Yeah.
photo op and the fucking autograph. And I was like, and I was like, at the time I still gave a shit. Like I wore a smoke coat just in case, hey, somebody jumps out. I heard the Eric Bischoff like, like the fucking announcer got a DUI and on the way to the studio. So
Yeah,
hey, you got a
you
sport
never
coat,
know.
right?
Mhm,
So that's it, right? So I was like, oh shit, and like I'm three people in the queue away
mhm.
from Muda, and I go, and Muda's talking to the handler, going like, "This is too nice. He wants me to sign this," and I was like, "Yeah." So yeah, it was Muda first, then Punk. That was all of $9 because I spent $9. It was $6 ticket and $3 fees, right?
That's wild.
Ticket fees, right? Because they're fucking egregious.
Mhm.
But when he had his horror movie, well, they did the premiere at a horror festival at the Egyptian Theater in Hollywood. So $9, and he was there. AJ, they're
That's
great.
wild.
Yes, they're kind of like a lot of people have bad CM Punk, kind of interactions and shit like that.
Mhm.
CM Punk is a different cat, I believe that. He's kind of the same, but he's kind of this is like CM Punk loves wrestling, right? He doesn't
Mhm.
have the auspices of WWE. Again,
Yeah.
when you have a job that might not be shit, you can make great money. You could be in a decent spot and also still be unhappy, right?
Yeah.
So, and that was Punk, and that was also Punk had a chip on his shoulder going, from the indies and whatever, right? And maybe
Yeah.
he rubbed people the wrong way. That's absolutely true, right? Um, but that night, he was amazing. And there's only been two times that I've been around Punk. It was that time, and also in the MMA sphere, he does commentary for
Yeah.
CFFC, right? Funny enough, just a little bit of a side note. They had a CFFC at the arena, the old the 2300 arena, the old ECW arena,
Mhm.
and a guy lost his fucking finger,
Oh
right?
God. Ugh.
And oh, sorry, but what essentially happened was the guy was pulling on the glove.
Oh no.
Yeah, I'm sorry, but there might have been an announcement like, hey, somebody lost a finger. If anybody sees it on the floor or something, please return it. What
That's
have you?
wild. Oh
Yeah,
my God.
and knowing okay, here's the thing. So Brittany Elkin, who was the first person to fight Clarissa Shields, the Olympic gold medalist or whatever,
Mhm.
she was working the bar at the ECW arena, right?
Mhm.
Then you've got CM Punk commentating,
Yep.
and that's probably not the first finger that was lost at the ECW arena.
Yeah, that's true also. Ugh.
Right? So again, what a wild fucking world that we live in, where all of that shit converges. Is what I'm saying, right? And then the last two signatures, Rocky Romero, I did the fucking VIP ticket for Suzuki, and
Mhm.
maybe I could have called in a favor. I had friends that worked there, but I'm like, fuck it, dude. I'm gonna pay. It was all of $50 for a
Yeah.
photo op and deal with Suzuki. Suzuki was great, right? Because it was only supposed to be one signature.
Mhm.
He takes one signature, one picture. He signs this guy here,
Mhm.
right? He signs my jacket. We take three pictures. He's Suzuki is amazing. He's just
Yeah.
fucking amazing, right? And then like one of my buddies, Eddie Torres from the Rock and Roll Beer Guy podcast, is just in the fucking corner in the same room talking to Rocky Romero. And it's just Suzuki's handler,
Mhm.
my friend Eddie and Rocky Romero, and me.
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
whatever. And Eddie is like, "Hey, Woods." Oh no, he tells Rocky, he's like, "Hey, this is my friend Woods. He's also a podcaster. You want to sign his jacket?" Rocky's like, "Shit," and signs it there. Fuck yeah, man! Like, and it's weird because like Rocky and I used to have the same barber in Pasadena, and the reason why I know because Rocky's 8x10 hung in the barber shop forever.
Oh, that's well cool.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So, yeah, but it's just like cool shit like that, and you never know where wrestling brings you. Which I
Yeah.
gotta ask: do
Okay.
you have past, present, and future? Do you have a dream match and a dream opponent,
Um.
living or dead? Could be tags, so you don't have to pick one. Could be a six Joshi, whatever. So you can have three, and then two
Yeah.
tag partners.
Um. I don't know. Like, I know for dream matches, most of the time it would never happen. I remember when, like, literally, like, I can't even remember when our tour was, but Awesome Kong's tour when she was over here, and it can't happen now. But somebody I knew, like, knew people that knew her, and I've still got the book, like, it's sitting in my cupboard right now, which she signed, and she was like cool name, like hope we get to wrestle one day or something like that, and I'm just like, that would be fucking amazing if that happened, but I also know, like, realistically, like, time, money, like, it probably would never happen. It was the same, like, with Viper just before she went to WWE, um, like, I put a few tweets up and she was like, "Yeah, let's, like, have a match, it'd be cool," but now I'm like, "Well, it can't really happen anymore, can it?" Um do you know what? I've wrestled people that I didn't even know, but they're like, from Holly Dead to like almost wrestling Madison Miles to then like Lisa Lace was probably one of my best matches. And she's like, I see it on Instagram all the time. She's at every single bloody show, and I'm just like, gonna just come back, or like, can I come to you? And, like, just so we can do it again. Um, but like just everybody. I want like I don't even care who. I don't even care if I like them or not. Like, just put me in somewhere. Tag team match, woman, male, whatever. I don't even care if it's a comedy match, tag match. It can be like they're doing like lip sync battles now as well because they're taking that from Drag Race. So people are doing that. Give me whatever. Like, I will go out and do it. Like, my goal isn't to be like the best athlete or anything. Obviously, I want to get better, but my goal is just to literally have fun. Like, I started this because I had fun with wrestling and I loved it. Don't love it as much anymore, but I still want to have fun because you having fun makes people have fun at the same time. So
No, and you can absolutely testing your metal. Have fun. I mean, the combat jujitsu in Mexico. This motherfucker. It actually pissed me off, right? And this is a high level jujitsu person, and you can have open hand slaps. He was getting slapped in the fucking forehead,
yeah,
actively losing brain cells, and he's smiling, and I'm like, motherfucker, why don't you just get out of the fucking submission, you dumbass? Like,
yep.
what the fuck? And that got shared on social media, and I was just like, uh, I wonder how it's gonna be when he's less than 50 and he's drinking through a straw.
Yeah, yeah. But do you know what? That's the point as well. It's like when it comes back to being paid as well. It's like, again, you're going out there and having a simple match, but accidents do happen. I literally for my like not even my debut match, but my match to get my debut match, um, just before it, I hit someone with a spine buster and they head like their chin got me in the head. So I still have an open because they didn't stitch it. So I still have like an open scar on the top of my head. I had to go into the match to get my debut match with my head still bleeding and open, and I just had to wrestle the match because like there was nothing else to do. But it's like, if you're on a show, you keep going. But it's just like, you know, that's what you learn. That's what you do. People break their noses and they keep going. Everything pops out, and you're just. But nobody asks you to do that. Maybe in WWE they do. But if you're hurt, you're hurt. They can end the match. But you're just like, do you know what? Like, you don't feel it because you're too busy hyped up on the crowd, and then by the end of it, you're like, ow. that hurt. I need to go to hospital.
No, yeah, absolutely. But and that's the other thing about like there might have been a show that I just recently went to,
Hmm.
and somebody was legitimately hurt, but it's kind of like, you know, like take it on the chin. You continue on to the next town, get the next booking. Don't let the promoter know you're hurt because you don't want to get the injury prone kind of
Yeah.
tag on you and what have you. But also Chris Benoit, right?
Hmm.
Chris Benoit, and people say wrestling is fake or predetermined and all that. Well, I've seen Harley Race. One of he's again. That's my top five, right?
Yeah.
I've kind of Billy Robinson, Luthez, Harley Race, right? Those are like my top five, and you might throw in an Austin or whatever of modern era, right?
Hmm.
But with that all being said, we saw Harley Race in a wheelchair, right? All the fucking bumps he's taken, right?
Yeah.
And then Benoit. Benoit had the brain because of all of the concussions of undiagnosed and what have you. He had the brain of a 70 something year old
Yeah.
dementia ridden woman. It changed his fucking gender, folks. And whether you watch football or soccer, right? Or hockey, NFL football,
Hmm.
wrestling, whatever. And that's one of the reasons why I do this, right? Because I want all of you guys and gals that spend your hard-earned money to learn, whether you go to wrestling school, whether you pay for MMA training,
Hmm.
jiu-jitsu training, that's anywhere from 100 to 500 bucks
Yeah.
a month, right? And traveling from God knows where, you know, like that's it. So I do this because here's the fact of the matter. I look at everything and your body like a bump card, right? It's 5 to 7 years if you're lucky, from
Yeah.
the time that you're either wrestling on the indies, doing amateur fighting, whatever, to make it to some big money, right? But you could supplement that income with what you are, right? Starting a podcast yourself, having a social media presence, having
Hmm.
a merch store just like you do, right? And be able to monetize it at the same time you're basically pursuing your career. Because if your deal is making it to one of the bigger promotions, or even just getting booked around the horn, right?
Yeah.
You people are going to see what you're doing and bring you in. It's not even you DMing them or emailing them. They're like they're sliding into your DMs, right?
Yeah.
Make yourself undeniable. So when you decide to hang them up, you're doing so on your own terms,
Yeah.
right? Rather than Marvin Hagler, uh, world champion. I think he fought Sugar Ray Leonard for the title in boxing, right? Had a fucking all time classic with Sugar Ray Leonard. And then after that, he's done. He
Yeah.
didn't win the title, he's done. He went into Italy making movies and shit like that. How many, people that we know that are great coaches that might have never been a star or,
Yep.
great trainers and whatever, but they have Freddie Roach was a kind of like okay, decent fighter, but like might have won a regional. I don't quote me on it, but might have won a regional title or what have you. But look at what he's done with Manny Pacquiao and others, right?
Hmm.
Wild card boxing. You know, uh, Mike Brown of American Top Team. He won one world title in WEC, right? And then kind of, he had a cup of coffee in the big time in the UFC,
Hmm.
and then whatever. But he's one of the coaches. Again, with Dan Lambert, who's fucking killing it in fucking AEW, right? So that's the thing. It's just like I want people to be able in this short window of time to monetize whatever because once you're done, you're done. Don't come
Yeah.
back for one more match. I actually kind of it's aghast when I hear somebody coming out of retirement or whatever
Hmm.
after like Misha Tate. I'm worried about her. This is
Yeah.
somebody who again, was the Queen Midas. Everything she touched turned to gold. Strikeforce world champion, UFC world champion, right? Gets one championship in Asia. She is a front office person, right? Her and Rich Franklin. And now she's back. And I'm like, what the fuck happened? Was it a mismanagement of funds or what have you? And not to say that Misha isn't great, whatever. She looked
Yeah.
great in her last fight. But I'm like, I'm worried because, again, that's it, you know? And if your brain has spent 5 years not getting punched in the head,
Yeah.
one could do it. I have a friend that had a fight. He trained in Big Bear, high altitude, where all the fucking boxers and MMA fighters have trained. High altitude. He comes back too soon, like the day of the fight. Well, now his chin isn't what it used to be,
Oh God.
and he gets KO'd, dead dick in the dirt. You know,
What
but
happened?
it happens, right? So, what can you do to be able to monetize yourself and everything? And even after you decide to hang him up, look at Taz. Look at how many. I mean, the UFC is not hiring any traditional broadcasters. It's former fighters. And even if you're a former fighter, then there's former world champions that you have to contend with. Alan Joban, who's a fucking Gucci model, who also fights. Of course he's going to
Yeah.
look great on camera.
Yeah.
If it's me, if it's what, ESPN, and it's me and Joban, fuck, I will tell you pick Joban.
Yeah, it's just not gonna happen.
Yeah, so I'm just saying. Which, obviously, Rayne, you've accomplished so much, and there's still the future is still unwritten. So there's a lot of people, both professionally and personally, that have helped you get to where you are now. So take as long as you like. Let's get some shout outs out of the way.
Oh goodness. Do you know there are a lot more people that I could shout out, but given where we are now, they don't deserve the recognition. No, but for real, like old trainers, things like that. Obviously, I have no affiliation with schools anymore. But like, if it wasn't for like all the training that I've gone through and learning through those guys, I wouldn't be here. And you know what? As big-headed as it is, and people will take it that way. If it wasn't for myself, like as I said, if it wasn't for myself putting my CV out, I might have not been ready. Right? I can say that now because I still don't feel like I'm ready, and that was like 2 years ago. But if I didn't put that out there, a chance wouldn't have been taken. I wouldn't have had all these opportunities. Yes, there's people from those companies that then helped and obviously pursued from there. But now it's like, well, I'm at the start again, and you're not here, but I am. That's what it is at the end of the day. And in the most brutal way, you know, if it wasn't for my dad dying, I probably never would have started. So, like, that's how it is, you know? You meet people, I'm not going to throw out names because I can't be bothered being into trouble with any more people. But there's people you meet and they do help you, or they want to help you, or like your simple things. There's friends that you think will support you, but they never share your stuff. They'll never care. And then there's complete total strangers that I've got a guy that lives in India, and he sits every time. When are you wrestling? Can I see where you're at? Like, do you have the match and stuff like that? And I'm just like, why me? Like, there's so many cooler people, but I appreciate it. And here you go, and like, so like, you know, everybody that takes the time to, whether it's Twitter, Instagram, podcasts, my promos, my YouTube. I'm gonna start twitching soon as well. Like every single person that has given that opportunity and like that help, it's every single one of them. And it's not just in wrestling. Like out with that, people that make the time for me that I can go to training, people that help me in the gym. Because if you told me 2 years ago that I could walk in the gym myself and not have an anxiety attack, because like people don't stare at you really, but you still think they do. But like 2 days ago, I had my first gym session back, and I walked in all by myself. And like, yes, I'm away to turn 25. I am an adult, but I don't feel like it.
Yeah. There's levels to this shit.
And do you know what? Especially now, being in the Lana Austin class, like her just opening that, her and Future Shock having that opportunity. So now, like, not only have I, you know, not only have I met Lana Austin now, I also get to like train and wrestle against her in training, and I'm like, I would never thought I would be good enough to have a match with her. Never mind, like I've done spots, not, and then I've got other girls now that I know up and down the country, thanks to this training, and it's just like, do you know what the experience? I appreciate every single person, whether I like them or not, whether I still talk to them or not. Every one of them has had an influence at one point in this journey. Whether they care that I'm thanking them or not, that's up to them. But they all deserve it at the end of the day.
No, I love it. I love it. And I mean, those are, it's people go, positive vibes only. But how
Yeah.
many fucking times have we fucking done something outside of ourselves because somebody rejected us,
Mhm.
somebody didn't like us, somebody said you'll never fucking make it. I mean, AEW is one fucking tweet. You can't sell a fucking over 10,000 seat arena.
Yep.
Of putting somebody in a trash bag and painted face and go like, you're Stardust because your dad was Stardust in '77,
Yep.
right? Like like that's it. So that positive vibes only. I'm of the auspices of the lotus flower, right? You don't
Mhm.
find a lotus flower in a nice meadow and creek, right?
Yeah.
With Avion water, right? No, it's in the shit. And the shittier the fucking environment, the mossier, whatever, the more
Mhm.
beautiful the fucking flower. But also, what you're looking at is a fucking cadaver because if you know about the lotus flower, as it dies, it sprouts off new life and seeds, right? So
Yeah.
we're looking at dead fucking flowers.
Mhm.
We're looking at dead flower bodies. It's a nice visual, but it
Yeah.
looks pretty and what have you. So with that all being said, it's just like be the fucking lotus flower people. You do need,
Exactly.
like a coal without pressure is still coal. Coal with
Mhm.
pressure is a fucking diamond mine. Oh, there's an NXT reference there, but yeah, no, but that's it, And sometimes you might not be the fucking, the cup of tea, so to
Mhm.
speak, today, 3 years from now, or
You
ten
never
years
know.
from now. Like, oh man, I watched you. That guy in India.
Mhm.
There's probably people that are going to Kali's school that are watching Rain matches like you watch, or watching Great Muda matches.
I mean, do you know what? Like, as wild as it is, there is, and I can't deny it. Like, I see people watching stuff. Like, I just have a few matches up. I see people watching them all the time, and it's just like, do you know what? I might think I'm rubbish at it, but people are still watching them. People enjoy them, people hate them, whatever, but you're still watching them. You
Hmm.
still care enough to, like, sit through 10, 15, 20 minutes of this match. It's wild. It's wild. So, like, just, it's not only up. Like there will be down times as well, but if I choose to be, that the only place is to go is up, is like I'm not going to fully improve on a stagnant like just upward trajectory, but I'm going to just try my best, and that's all you can do.
No, 1,000%. That's all you can do. But for people that are looking for things to do in
Mhm.
the form of following and subscribing and, going to the old gimmick table, right? Now, just for you, I go ahead and put it in the description of all your social media accounts as well as your merch store. But I've said it once before, but it bears repeating. Where can they find you on the interwebs?
Mine's is thankfully quite easy. So whether it is, let's go down the list. Whether it is Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, all of that is just at Rayhne UK. And I'm pretty sure if you spell it wrong, you'll still find me
Yeah,
because there's not many Rayhnes out there.
yeah. I did exactly that. I'm not even confident that in the description it has the right spelling because I'm dyslexic. Sorry about that, dear.
You'd still probably find it nonetheless. Um, Twitch is just Purple Rain, obviously because of that nice little play on words. Um, which I don't even know what we're gonna do yet, but I'm gonna do a little birthday stream on Tuesday because I have nothing else to do for turning 25 than just sit at my computer like I usually would. So
I'm
may as
joining.
well do it with people.
Well, I'm gonna join you. Hopefully, you do it in the. Hopefully, you do it not earlier than 7 o'clock your time.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
all right.
I'll make sure to remember that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm sharing the shit out of it. Absolutely. No, Rain, you have been lovely. I mean, we went fucking 2 hours and 20 minutes. I asked you for an hour, but that's what you are. And again, shout out to the dudes at Ringside Podcast. If you weren't on there, you hadn't said yes to them first, I wouldn't have seen you on there and go like, fuck, she's brilliant. I'm
No
gonna have
doubt.
her
I
on.
did plan with those guys, and I did apologise because obviously I had my dental stuff, but I will be back with them again. So then, no doubt, you'll see that and be like, "Come back again."
Oh
So
yeah. Well, you got an open invitation. That's
yeah,
so we'll figure something out. But and again, thank you guys for joining us here at According to Woods. And if you haven't already done so, it's According to Woods on the socials, right? Like if you want fucking podcasts or dumbass memes where people get dumped on their heads, put to music that I like, you're gonna get that at According to Woods Facebook. What was it? Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, right? But then the principal podcast where you're watching this now, Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. I mean, Rain, you're subscribed to the podcast, aren't you?
indeed, yeah.
Damn right. So be a badass like Rain, the Purple Rain herself, and go ahead and subscribe to the podcast. But if you don't believe me, you don't believe Rain, and I don't know why you wouldn't. Here's another pro wrestler, Zeta Zhang.
Hey, this is Zeta Zhang. Make sure you subscribe to According to